Hey everyone, it's LS, and today I'm joined by CroissantLoL here to be VOD reviewing the TeamLiquid versus 100Thieves NALCS Spring Split Finals. And we're going to be talking about everything today, although Croissant will probably handle the pick bans because, as I've mentioned in previous VOD reviews, I have been gone for a little while because of my eye surgery, so I don't feel as comfortable doing them. If you don't know who he is, you can check out the description and the YouTube info below. You can check him out on Twitter. He's been someone that I've been very vocal about since he initially came onto the scene with a Reddit post as one of the surprisingly actually good analysts that I've ever seen pop up in the public. And so these should be pretty good videos. So we're just going to get started. And as always, it is on X2 speed.
Yeah, so a lot of people were confused by the Tom Kench ban, but it's one of Ole's strong picks throughout playoffs, and 100 Thieves clearly had priority on Skarner coming in, and Tom can still eat his ally even if they're Skarner ulted, so they want to take that away from Ole. They banned the GP against Impact, which is confusing because Liquid has banned GP more than any other team in NALCS, like 19 times or something, but it's just a power pack that basically every top laner can play. And the Cassio is because Bobelter played Cassio in every game of the semifinals, or at least 3 out of the 4 games. So he just looked really strong on them, especially against Ryze, which is what Ryu wants to play here. Liquid just goes for the standard red side, or I don't know why it's red and blue, but the second pick bans are Swain and Olaf are really common, and then the Trundle is just a pick that has started in EU, got picked up in Korea for a bit, and has just looked really strong in North America. But really, Xmithy is a lot better at playing with it than Meteos, so I think this is just a precautionary ban from Liquid that they didn't really need. You're already done with like the first phase picks, but it's just pretty self-explanatory. All the power picks are like Skarner, and then you have Caitlyn, Sejuani. Liquid has more priority on Caitlyn than it seems 100 Thieves does because Tristana hasn't really been seen in North America nearly as much as Europe. But it got picked up clearly over the last week by both 100 Thieves and Liquid, through scrims probably. And so the Ryze, Tristana, a lot of pick potential, but Ryze carrying 100 Thieves, it seems, through the early mid game, and then Tristana scaling up to be a late game threat. So it's not like 100 Thieves doesn't have any, they don't really, even if they're behind by quite a bit at like 25-30 minutes, they still have a chance to come back in the game if they play the stall correctly. But I've seen very few North American teams like actually stall out in the way that they need to actually to win and come back. They just get really impatient, right?
Yeah.
And then Liquid finishes off with his ear. Yeah.
So the thing that I'm gonna find super interesting throughout all these VODs that we're gonna do is you're really diving into the team specific stuff whereas I just care. That's a Skarner, that's a Ryze, that's a Trist. This is Kate, Sedge, Azir. So if the champions can do it, it should do it. I don't really care about 100 Thieves. I don't give 2 shits about Team Liquid. I don't care who the fuck's picking what champion and what they've been doing. If the champion can do it, it can do it. So the first main thing that I want to bring up with you is that they pick Skarner, so engage melee champion first off, and then Caitlyn's responded with Sejuani, which is going to be able to be flexible in how she's going to have a tendency to play the game, right? Sejuani can go aggressive. She can also just be defensive. She can use all of her abilities defensively, and with Caitlyn having the really, really long range, you have options to mix things up. But then, obviously, this is red side and this is blue side, even though it's getting a little bit confusing with this stuff that they do. Then they pick Ryze. And this strikes me as really weird, because now you have short-range champion, and then you back it up with Tristana so that you have some flexibility in the sense that you have scaling, and obviously Ryze can scale well to a point. But then it gets met with Azir. So I already feel like going into pick ban phase number 2, 100 Thieves is really, really behind. That's just how I'm looking at this, because Caitlyn doesn't, yes, she obviously wants to blitz down turrets. The problem is that 2 of their champions are getting self-negated by Azir, and now Sejuani doesn't have to be neutral anymore, she can just be defensive. So if they just play protect the Caitlyn, protect the Azir comp, there's no way for this team composition to break into the red side jungle of Team Liquid at any sort of the Baron stalls, even if they have a Spire on Skarner. and they're heavily, heavily reliant on Tristana getting ahead. Because even if Ryze gets ahead in the Azir-specific matchup, Azir is still fine because of his long range. Ryze can't actually make anything happen. So even if Ryze gets ahead and they get priority on Azir for some reason, and they can control right side river, it also doesn't really matter all that much because Caitlyn is now on red side. So Caitlyn has the option of being able to go defensive, and then because she has the option of being able to go defensive, and she has the Sejuani who can also now just play defensive. So if you're TeamLiquid, you're just looking at all defensive side wards with never really needing to cross the river. You don't need to contest the spires to win this game. If Caitlyn gets a turret on Tristana, normally I think that would be the surface level explanation of how a lane like that should go, right? Caitlyn versus Trist, although things have changed up over the years, whatever. She doesn't need to get the turret anymore. The Tristana ticking time bomb is negated by the Ryze and the Skarner walking into an Azir and a defensive Sedge. I mean, that's how I'm interpreting it. So when we're going into pick ban number 2, I already feel like 100 Thieves is in a really, really rough spot. And I'm trying to think of top laners that can even help them at this point, because they're going to have to show their hand first. I don't think there's any reason why TL doesn't just go support and then top in most cases. But obviously, you can talk about maybe TeamLiquid or 100 Thieves specific tendencies that I'm not personally interested in. I'm just interested in, if it exists, it should occur, regardless of, you know, if these players can pilot it. But do you have any different take on that?
No, you can keep on going through it. I agree with you, and I agree with like basically how the comps are looking out to just be, even after these next 2 picks, there's not going to be that much that can change from either team, especially because neither 100 Thieves or Liquid really bust out anything that's really, you know, unorthodox. Only Impact has been doing that this playoffs, which is disappointing. But yeah, I think the reason that I definitely think that Azir rounds out Liquid's comp nicely here, and 100 Thieves doesn't expect it because Pobelter played like 1 game of Azir out of the last 7, and it wasn't really very highly prioritized or banned at any point. So I just think that when people are, I think that 100 Thieves should have adapted better in like game 2 draft phase, but that's like way down the line, right? So right now, I think 100 Thieves is slightly losing, but they do have tools to make picks work early on. I think their skirmishing duo 2v2, if they knew how to move around the map and really apply pressure, top side and bot side, is still stronger than Sejuani Azir right now. But Azir is like one of the best champs at neutralizing Ryze for sure.
Okay. I just think they're, like you're saying that they're slightly behind. I think they're really far behind. That's just because if you imagine that Xsmithy plays a defensive game, right, on his half of the river, right?
Yeah.
If Skarner and Ryze ever want to commit to a gank on Azir, they have to commit. They're going to have to go over the halfway point of the lane, and if Sejuani shows up for any reason, their skills don't allow them to disengage. Like once they commit, they're committed. So if they ever get matched or counter ganked, they're really far behind. And then because even if Ryze gets ahead, it doesn't mean anything. That's a problem. Because in a lot of matchups, if Ryze gets ahead, he can do stuff with it. But because of the Azir component, he can't do anything with it. Even if he gets 2 kills, 3 kills, Azir can still just go even in the lane. It's like facing Talia.
I think what he can do is he can, like, you know, split top or bot and bring Azir there. And it's, you know, Azir is a little bit, is slower at rotating, has less, it has to be more afraid than Ryze in general. So that's like the one thing that Ryze can do to really put pressure on Azir outside of the laning phase. But in general, you're right that like Ryze can't really pressure Azir's tower mid or any of that stuff pre-15. He just has to focus on trying to roam elsewhere if he can.
Yeah, if he gets ahead.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, how does 100 Thieves... I really, like, I'm a pretty firm believer that some, like, pre-second pick ban phases are just really ugly, and I think this is one of them. Because you can fill these 2 with a lot of champions and ask yourselves, what is it going to mean for the pattern that's likely to occur? Because TL has counterpick top lane, I don't know what 100 Thieves can even actually pick here to get them out of this. In most cases, I would actually probably say a Gangplank, right? Just because Gangplank he can add a timer, he can break the defensiveness that we talked about, because right now, these guys don't need to be aggressive. They just need to sit, get peeled by Sejuani, and just play the long range game. And even though Tristana is there, it doesn't really matter because she doesn't stand up to Caitlyn and Azir. I'm just curious to see how it actually unfolds. I don't know how it actually unfolds. Actually, I only know the results of these games. I don't even know the team comps. So this is going to be interesting for me.
For sure. So they banned the Cho'Gath. It's just, I'm not totally sure actually because they could have banned, they could have banned Ornn or something. But I think they think it's one of Sunday's better blind picks. But I think Cho'Gath is a lot more punishable in a blind pick because that's why, like, if you see Ornn or Sion come out, right? Khan's not going to bust out Jace against those champions usually. But if you see Cho'Gath, then that's like the best Korean teams will pull out the Jace, will pull out the heavy ganking like pre-6 jungler, and they'll just make that Cho'Gath have like 11 CS at 10 minutes. So, but you know that Impact's not going to do that. You know that Xmithy's not going to do that with Sejuani. So they just ban out the Cho'Gath because they think it's the best front line. Oh, like 100 Thieves, it gives them, you know, better objective control, and people like to say that 100 Thieves is really good at playing around Baron. So they just wanted to take that away entirely, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cho'Gath disappeared for me, so I can't really add too much on that. Morgana gets banned. Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah, it's one of Ole's best picks.
Okay.
And it also negates the Skarner, which makes sense.
Thresh. Okay, that's pretty standard.
Yeah.
Unless you just wanted to take the Thresh, but you don't really need to. You're not looking for hooks and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. 100 Thieves likes to run the Thresh Skarner, and then so 100 Thieves bans Camille, which people are like, oh, Impact doesn't play Camille, but I know for a fact that Impact can play Camille, and I don't think he's as practiced as it, and this is something that people are worried about going into MS. They're like, oh, is TeamLiquid going to be okay against all these carry top laners? But that can only be shown through their practice because they haven't been challenged in the NALCS playoffs by like a carry top laner. Huni basically didn't like try for that, really.
Well, the Camille ban strikes me as weird because if I'm 100 Thieves right now, I'm thinking, man, we are royally boned right now going into the second part, and I think the only way that they have even a glimmer of hope is a 1-3-1.
Yeah.
And they do have blue side, so it is stronger. I think 1-3-1 and picking out, away at TeamLiquid is the only way that they can win. And so, you hope that TL picks top laner here. They're not going to. Yeah. They pick support, and then I think that you just have to accept a knife fight. Like you accept that maybe you go Camille and they go something like Fiora. You go Fiora, they go Camille, or something to that nature.
They should have totally gone for the carry matchup top.
Yep. Braum gets picked.
But,
and this further just narrates we're gonna be defensive and we kill you. Like, the Braum doesn't need to be aggressive. The Sedge doesn't need to be aggressive anymore because 100 Thieves' team composition is fundamentally so weak against Azir Caitlyn. They pick Ornn, and what, you're gonna walk into Fiora? I don't know what the last pick is. That's just my assumption, is that it should just be a Fiora now, because now if you're red side TL and you have the Baron pit right here, right? There is no way for these guys, these assholes, to crack into this. Like this area. Like Wraiths are right here, Red is here, Golems, right? There's no way to get in to this little nook and cranny.
Yep.
So, and then because you have Azir, this mid-tier 1 turret is likely going to live a very long time unless the enemy team gets Rift Herald. Which is really, really important. So, I don't understand the Ornn, because now they can just go Fiora and be like, okay, you have 30 minutes. That's my interpretation of what's going on. And then they take Alistar, and I guess this ties in with maybe mid lane roams or something, or it doesn't make sense to me, because this all has one style, right? This is, we go at you. And the problem is that these two champions get to say that, okay, well, we're just going to stand back. And now Sejuani, who is neutral in the sense that she can be aggressive, be defensive, now just goes hyper-defensive. Braum's just going to be hyper-defensive. And there's no reason why TL doesn't just pick a Fiora here.
Mm-hmm.
And then just says, okay, well, good luck, you have 30 minutes. That's my interpretation of the draft. Now, obviously, okay, they pick Singed. You're going to have more input on this because you've been following the teams, whereas I don't really care about the teams. I care about the champions and what can exist. And they pick Singed.
Yeah.
I don't like the Singed because I feel like that incentivizes you to engage, that incentivizes you to team fight, and I don't like that because I don't think it's something that they needed to do.
Yeah. So I think, well, yeah, Impact just, I have confidence that he can play Camille, but I actually have very little confidence that he can play for Fiora. So I know that Fiora in that position would have been pretty optimal, but I do like that they went for the Singed because although it doesn't end up being a massive split pushing threat, it does have a lot of priority over Ornn, and he just, like, you'll see how Impact uses it, but what he does is, I mean, he played it twice earlier on in the quarterfinal, and it seems like Liquid just really knows how to play around the Singed pick, and other teams don't know how to play around it. So,
well, that's an
it's like
interesting component that you're bringing up. You know, how experienced is 100 Thieves playing against Singed? You know, sometimes the best decision, like, let's say that they go Fiora, and the, you know, someday is like, I don't know, 30 or like, let's say that he's like 70% comfortable, right, against Fiora here. But if you pick Singed, let's say that he is 50% comfortable, just because he's not experienced. Well, now suddenly, even though Singed, in my eyes, is less optimal, it's actually better for the situation, just because the element of, you know, surprise.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Nothing crazy. I mean, so we can just talk about the team comps right now, really quick. So the thing that I'm seeing here is it's virtually impossible probably to gank Impact in top lane until Meteos has 6 and Someday has 6. I don't think you're ever going to kill Singed. Even if you both have 6, I think it's still going to be pretty difficult to actually bring down Singed. Ocean Drake's the first dragon of the game, so there's no real incentive for the junglers to be prioritizing a lot of power control on the right-hand side of the map unless you're really thinking about, oh, hey, well, Skarner passive regeneration, Ornn passive regeneration, maybe the Ocean Drake is beneficial there, but realistically, I don't think that's going to be what they're thinking. If you're looking at Xmithy, does he have any obligation to gank any lane early? No, he doesn't. He can be really greedy with his clears and his roots. Now, Skarner, on the other hand, starting blue side, it looks like he's going to clear his entire blue side, transition into his red, but then when he transitions out of his red, he can't go anywhere. He's not going to be able to go bottom lane because it's very, very difficult for a blue side Skarner to approach bottom lane, especially without Predator or his ultimate available. He can't realistically go mid lane, or he shouldn't be able to. And then because he's clearing his left side jungle, it means that he can't go back up to top lane until around the 4.5 minute mark, and by that time, Impact's probably going to be safe anyway. And I think that Xmithy is just going to get the better end of the roots just due to the nature of the champions and like the lane matchups. So with that being said, if you're looking at one item spikes, who ends up winning out at one item spikes? And it's like, well, these champions have okay one item stuff, but the problem is that they don't. There's no real firepower. Yeah. So if TeamLiquid, like I said in pick ban, if they just have like, you know, ward here, pink ward here, they have, you know, ward in this brush, you have a control ward here, maybe you have a ward here from Azir, control ward here, and you have occasional wards here. It only really takes like 5 or 6 wards to shut down 100 Thieves. And then you just play around it. There's no information as information. And then once it begins to get to 2, 3 items, I don't know what 100 Thieves is supposed to do. They're literally press R and pray. They become tunneled around Skarner ultimate and Ornn ultimate. And if they don't have that, they can't do anything. So Ocean Drake, obviously not the best RNG, and if that doesn't go down for a really long time, 100 Thieves has no neutral objective to realistically contest. I don't think that they're going to find any success on the left-hand side of the map, because Singed is probably just going to be invulnerable in top lane, so I don't know how Someday or Meteos or Ryu is ever going to be able to assert pressure onto the Rift Herald, barring Cody Sun and Aphromoo having some sort of chaos unfold in bottom lane, and they get a first turret over double lift early, which isn't going to happen. So Rift Herald, I think, is off the table, which now means that second blue is going to be a really important timing. because it's going to mean that Team Liquid has a lot of control and safety over the right-hand side river, and then Singe is just going to get to do what he wants to up in top lane. So I think Rift Herald's off the map. I don't think it's ever going to happen. And I'm sitting here thinking, what do you do as 100 Thieves that doesn't require TL to make a ridiculous amount of mistakes? Because I just don't think it's possible.
So the one thing that 100 Thieves really needs to do is, well, first of all, Skarner needs to out farm Sejuani, hit 6 first, be a stronger early skirmisher, and take better pathing. And I like if you Xmithy, one of the things that I like best about him is his pathing. Like he took Skarner 3 games in a row, and he would just be like 2 camps ahead of the enemy jungler every single time, right? And I don't know if that's feasible or if that's like if that will happen in most optimal matchups. But I think it is possible for Meteos to try and do that here. But you'll see that I think he wastes some time or something. Even if Skarner and Sejuani get out even, right? Like, and it's like it's like 10 minutes in. I think 100 Thieves, although they definitely have a very small window and they have less options than Liquid, their answer and their only solution to winning this game is really controlling the vision that you mentioned and like clearing out whatever river vision they can, and then going for picks with Ryze and Alistar. Because although like Skarner and Ornn are ult bots, like Alistar and Ryze have a lot of, they have good CC on basic abilities that like have really low cooldowns, right? So if they can find creative ways to get behind Liquid, flank, and like it does require Liquid to fuck up. It requires Pobelter and Double Lift to be out of position, but like there is a window from like 15 to 20 minutes that Ryze and Alistar will be really useful. And but generally Team Liquid just has a lot of the tools they need to win this game already.
Yeah,
right.
I think that it's like getting a really favorable, well, not to go with card game analogies, but it's just a really favorable matchup. I mean, we can say everything that we want, but like even the initial jungle clears, right? Let's say that you do the loop-de-loop, you come out here, right? And let's say that Sejuani does something like this. This is already advantageous for Sej, because it means that Sejuani by nature is set to match her counter gank. So that's already a win. That's already a victory. And we know that Meteos can't go bottom, which now means that he also can't go back to top lane until around the time where Sejuani might even be incentivized to have already placed a ward and then also position into golems or something. Everything's already ugly off opening clears. So now we talk about level 5, level 6 or something. Well, you're going to end up clearing your entire top left-hand side jungle around the time that the top laners are going to get 6. So now, if you do want to come back up to top lane, it's probably going to be around the time that it's level 7 or 8, which Sin should be in a really, really good position at that point. So I don't know how you gain top lane, which now, again, it means that this side of the river should be able to be protected by Team Liquid very, very easily, because Meteos should not have any reason to go onto this side. Now, because we're talking about level 7, 8, 9, etc., we're also talking about the importance of second blue buff and stuff. It's going to be very difficult to do anything around this vision that TL can set up, which means that now Sejuani is going to be able to path down to the right-hand side, hand off the blue to Azir. Azir's going to be fine. And they don't ever have to worry about this side of the map because Singe is invulnerable in top lane. He can't ever be ganked after level 7. So how do you now crack open double lift and Ole when Azir is just going to be hugging right-hand side and Sejuani just wants to play right-hand side? She's basically going to say, okay, fuck golems, and Azir, you can have my wraiths, and then all that Sej has to do is concede camps and play right side, and just play inside of this little rectangle, or square, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way out. Now, whatever 100 Thieves or Team Liquid have tendencies to do as players, like, that's one of the things I said I think is interesting, because you'll bring that stuff up, but I won't. I disregard that. Just because if champions can do this, they should do it. I think that's it, really. But I mean, that's what I'm looking to see happen. So I feel like if 100 Thieves doesn't have first turret and a few kills on Tristana, by 15 minutes or something, or like Alistar's made a few clutch roams and they've gotten kills, I think it's just they're 6 feet under already. Unless Singe is really, really far behind. That's another thing that I guess could happen. If Singe is like 0-3 or something at 15, then...
Yeah. So just a little bit about the early laning phase. Like you saw 100 Thieves didn't have to leash, so they got priority in the lane. But it didn't amount to that much because the levels still came out to be the same. You saw Meteos look for a little gank, but Double Lift and Ole weren't pushing. They weren't like trying to pressure the Tristana Alistar, so I think they kind of sensed it, but they were just playing safe, right? Meteos still gets the Gromp anyway, though, and you'll see Smithy takes the Raptors. He pats all the way down to, I think, yeah, he gets the Shrine. He finds out his Gromp's gone, and he backs, right? So Meteos gets out to a little bit of a head start, but at this point, Cody and Afro start losing the lane again, just because I think, like, so it's either Cody's missing too much CS, which is understandable also when you have the Alistar against the Braum, because Braum can poke and stuff, and Alistar really he's Afro probably combos in 0 times, right? So the lane is kind of getting frozen on them, and like Cody just starts getting harassed. But
I mean, he's missed 6 CS by the first wave. That's obviously not good.
Yeah.
Everything's just not going well. It's really this is something that I talked about in the KT versus SKT VOD reviews. When you have such a ugly jungler and lane setup, like for the initial clear and the second clear, I think you have to do something aggressive to skew the openings, skew the vision. You have to do some sort of like pseudo invade or something aggressive and pressure to mix up the opening. Because if you just do a standard opening on both sides, 100 Thieves is always getting the short end of the stick. There's no universe where they can ever come out ahead with traditional openings. And I think that teams aren't doing that enough. KT scored it in one of the games, but Blank just got massacred because he kept handshaking traditional openings with disadvantageous lane setups for his jungler.
I'm not sure when Impact blew Splash, but that happened too. So like some days winning the lane, which is the only really good thing going for them. Ryu is putting a little bit of pressure on Pobelter, but he early TP'd back with a tier, so that's expected. Azir should just be farming at this point. And here, Xmithy is going for a gank. So like nothing really happens because they don't have the damage to really kill him. And Meteos just predators into the lane. At this point, you see Meteos is on the Wolves, so it is a fair point to say that he could be here earlier. But I don't think it's that bad that he's just going for a hard farm.
Well, I like what Meteos is doing. Evidently, Someday's not really in that much danger, and now one of the problems here is that Impact is going to share XP with Xmithy.
Yeah.
So this is one of the really painful things here. So if Someday survives this gank, and now Meteos gets 2 camps up, these are the type of mistakes that TeamLiquid can make. Like, does Xmithy really need to come up here and help Impact right now? No. Technically, no. There's no reason to be up here. He could have just immediately pathed down to his Wolves, let Impact get as far. Even if Singe falls a little bit further behind, it's not the end of the world, because Singe is not integral to the win con.
Yeah.
I mean, do you agree with that or no? I just feel like if Skarner never shows here and Someday lives the gank, you fall needlessly behind for no reason. And now, if Skarner does come top lane and Impact doesn't have teleport, he doesn't have flash, and then Someday hits level 6, which this is the wave for level 6, right? That's a cannon? Oh no, this isn't it. Next wave is level 6.
Yeah.
So this wave is level 6. This is a problem now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right. Like, Impact's maybe... So the idea is definitely...
Try to kill Someday.
A lot of CS. Yeah, there's a lot of CS in front of Impact's turret. Someday kind of needs to walk up, so they're like, oh, let's kill him, or try. But Impact doesn't have flash, so they can't like really run Someday down. And also, if they just... I didn't notice the point about splitting EXP, but that's actually huge, because this whole wave dies from the poison.
Yeah.
And now, like, Singe is just later to the level 6, right?
Yeah.
But I think if we consider what happens if Xmithy just goes and does his wolves and like maybe paths up top for the level 6 and try and like avoid the Ornn gank, even if Xmithy just like disappears off the map for the next minute, right? It's really hard to dive a Singed with just the Ornn and the Skarner,
Yes.
unless you can flash ult him out of the tower range. And Skarner's pretty far from 6. So I think definitely the right move was to actually not send Xmithy up here and to let Impact do his own thing. But yeah, so that it's fine. Like both teams are in an equal state because of how they played it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, right, I mean, in a weird world, right, Impact loses all of his HP, he farms this wave, he recalls. He comes back, and he arrives at the cannon at his turret. He's not going to get dove.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. Meteos doesn't have level 6, and then also, if Xmithy predicts that could be happening, then Xmithy can path to the right-hand side.
Yeah. So, you just see how hard Cody and Afro are getting. It's like a 10 CS deficit by now.
Yeah.
And HP deficit, so.
Game already feels really, really rough for 100 Thieves. Each recall is like a breath of fresh air. It's like passing a turn in a card game for no reason. Like you just draw and pass. You ever play Hearthstone?
No, but I mean, I played Yu-Gi-Oh.
All right, so yeah, imagine, yeah, okay, Yu-Gi-Oh. Just draw a card and pass. That's really bad. Smithy's even gonna get the Scuttle Crab.
Meteos is 6, but he goes straight to hand off the blue.
Yep. The Ocean, I don't like the Ocean Drake. 100 Thieves needs things to win this game, and TL does not need Ocean to win the game. Like, this is perceived as an opportunistic capture, but I think that it's one that's not necessary. And now, look what you did.
Yeah.
You forced an Infernal to spawn. It's going to come at, like, 14 minutes. And yes, you can assume that your bottom lane is going to have control, and you guys are in the driver's seat right now, but I think that there's absolutely no reason that you tried to do that.
So, can you go back a little bit?
Yeah.
I think... So, yeah, Liquid thought they could just rush the Ocean with 4 people and not lose anything because you see Caitlyn pathing back all the way around to his tower. So he knows Liquid has 2 options. They either don't go for the Ocean at all, or they pressure bot a little bit harder but they can't go for a dive really because even if Pobelta roams down, like right here, they can't really go for a dive after the blue handoff from Meteos, right? Because Ryu can just TP in and make it to like a 3v4, and it'll just be pretty hard to execute right here. But instead of like harassing Cody and Afro, Doublelift just decides to, so one thing is that Doublelift really calls for these objectives, right? I forgot where I saw it, but
is that a real thing? Like the Comms Republic? Okay.
Or not the Comms Republic, but just like people have mentioned that he wanted to do like all these dragons, and he would like say, let's start it. Or it's like a Doublelift thing to do, I guess. Okay. It's probably Xmithy and Doublelift calling for it together, but I can definitely see that. And the thing that Doublelift does here is he doesn't go and push out the wave. He just leaves it so that it's in an unfavorable position for 100 Thieves because they don't crash the wave. So they just I don't think it's completely reset either. But anyway, they expect 100 Thieves to come back and just continue laning, but what 100 Thieves does is actually the only move that they really have at this point in the game, 8 minutes in, which is walk top with their bot lane.
Well, Dragon being off the map, there's no reason to still be bottom at this point.
Yeah.
Because there's no neutral objective incentive. So that you're saying they recall and just go top lane?
Yeah. Yeah, because also if you look at the lane position right there,
right here?
Yeah, Doublelift and Ole catch the wave. So there's like at least 10 minions or something against Liquid's 6. So if 100 Thieves and if Cody and Afro walk back to the lane, they're not
getting anything.
They're not getting anything.
Right.
And Liquid actually, normally the freeze that they're setting up would be good, but they aren't going to get anything out of it because it'll be slower for them to actually push to 100 Thieves tower because now 100 Thieves has a wave building up on the bot side. So instead of denying CS, or like 100 Thieves just takes the L down there and then goes top, which I think is like really good because Impact doesn't get out in time, and like we can just watch from here.
Okay.
But yeah,
My perspective of this is that 100 Thieves, even though they're the ones with this Tristana Rise,
yeah,
they're actually the ones that should feel hard pressed to accelerate the game. And so
yeah,
I like the swap top. I think that it is indeed correct, especially if it catches TeamLiquid off guard.
yeah,
Skarner's here too. Okay.
yeah.
Now the thing for me is, they see Alistar, they see
Yeah.
Tristana. Why doesn't
Yeah,
he
they
just
see
leave?
it on the ping. Yeah, that was my big question. I think maybe Impact's like, oh, Meteos isn't here. This is the big question, right?
I
Because
don't
Meteos
understand.
walks through that. Yeah.
They saw him at red. He comes
Did they?
here. Yeah, they saw him at red. They saw him taking red. Yeah, Cinch sees it. So
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I don't understand. Impact's like AFK. This doesn't make any sense. This entire death is just unacceptable.
Let's say he just starts running for the hills though, as soon as he sees Alistar. So right there, right there. So here he does start walking back, but he stops, right? But if he
He starts
continues
right there.
walking, yeah,
Go ahead.
and he walks back up until like he's like 300, 400 units behind the tower. If he keeps walking, then I think Meteos will probably try and walk into the lane and ult him and bring him back into his team. I think that Impact definitely should have tried to leave, but I guess I don't know. He pings for help, but yeah, he should just be leaving here.
Yeah, he should just be leaving. 100%. Like if he just ran, Skarner would catch him like around here. Right?
Yeah, I think
If-
a little bit earlier,
Well,
but
wait.
I think
If
yeah,
he if he
starts
hugs the
walking-
top and he runs, right?
Yeah.
Because tier 1 boots, tier 1 boots.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he gets caught right around here.
Yeah, sure. That's true.
So then get caught here, he can get pulled to like here.
Mhm.
Which I don't think it's enough. I think with flash he escapes.
Mhm.
With flash and ulti, I think he escapes. I don't know why he chooses to stay.
Yeah. And that's the thing about like players, like I mean at least in NA, right? You'll see a player
Refuse.
not refuse, right? Okay, so let's say I see my mid laner. My mid laner sees Ryze walk into lane with a blue. That means, and I'm a top laner. I'm the red side top laner. So that means I know their jungler is on the top side. But like players get ganked and die all the time. If there's even 15 seconds where the jungler like if they'll play safe for like 5 seconds, right? Right after getting that information, but they'll just forget about it. They have the memory capacity of a goldfish or whatever. So they'll feel safe too quickly is the point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think he thought Meteos was probably thought Meteos wasn't right in that bush, if anything. Maybe in like try or something. Who knows? But anyway, 100 gets the tower. One interesting thing is, do you think someday could have defended the bot tower 1v2?
What do you mean? Like if I back all the way up?
Yeah, so if we back up to here,
You want him to recall TP?
recall a little bit earlier than he did because Skarner, Trist, Afro would have just taken like 3 or 4 seconds longer, and then he TP's bot, and then just tries to clear the wave. Do you think he gets killed by like Braum ult, Kate layer CC?
Kate trap, chain, Braum hit, chain, stun, chain, Kate trap, right? That would be the... I think he just died. And also the minions. I mean, worst case scenario, they could do a pretty extreme... Oh, no, actually, I guess they can't do an extreme handoff. They can't teleport down Singed and then trade this for this, because then what ends up happening is these members have to then go up to mid because they can just collapse down to Herald and do a 10-minute Herald, and that's obviously not ideal. But he just dies. Because he has no armor. He only has
Yeah.
magic resist.
Yeah.
Kate's gonna light him up. I mean, the chain CC is just way too strong. And you look at the amount of HP that they have between each other for turret hits,
Yeah.
it's just too high.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Sure.
there's
sure.
no universe.
Yeah.
I like that they try to go
So they
for top tier 2, but obviously they underestimate or they overestimate how much damage they can deal to it, so I think they end up wasting a little bit of tempo.
Yeah.
But even at this point in the game, I mean, they're up 1,000 gold. They're still behind.
Yep.
They're still really, really far behind. I don't like the fact that TL is even looking for plays, like when Sejuani went mid lane with Azir. That doesn't make any sense to me. They should understand that it's not about what their win con is and what they want to do. If the opponent's team needs something to happen, like actually needs, then your only win con or your only objective just suddenly becomes preventing it and you win. That's it. That's all that you have to do.
One thing that's really
Like this
interesting
tilts
here-
me. Go ahead.
So you want Xmithy to
Just do nothing.
yeah.
I
That's
just
fair.
don't want him to do anything because he doesn't need to do anything. This is a win more. If you kill Ryze, great. You don't need to kill Ryze to win the game.
Yeah.
But something could go, something could go amiss here. There's no reason for these type of things to even unfold. And I don't like seeing teams, and this even happens in Korea, teams do things that they want to do rather than what the enemy team needs to occur. And I think it's a really, really big blunder when people end up doing it. I mean, they have Tristana and Alistar up in top lane right now, and you can see that the pattern for this game, until Infernal Drake's going to come up, I'm going to assume, is just everyone keeps going tit for tat in lanes. And while normally Ryze might like that, and Tristana might like that, and Ornn might like it, unfortunately, due to the team compositions, it's not good because of the things that we talked about in pick ban.
Yeah.
So I don't know what 100 Thieves wants to do. They're starting Herald. Maybe they even get it. I don't think they ever should have been able to.
So this is my least favorite part of the whole game. I think it's terrible. So basically at 10 minutes. Let's just watch this fight real quick.
You can rewind if you want. Did someday whiff? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't whiff, though, it's not the end of the world. I mean, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And
So,
yeah.
Um.
I'm almost
we
fine
pause
saying
here?
that's game over. Go ahead.
Uh.
I'm that like that certain that's game over. You use a lot of summoners, you use a heavy commitment, you fall behind in tempo now in every single lane, you lost your opportunity to get Herald, you're going to be behind now in control for Infernal Drake. Infernal Drake is not something that you could give away to the enemy team, not when they have Azir and Caitlyn. I think it's game over. Like if this is KT versus Kingzone, it's game over. If KT is
Sure.
100 Thieves and Kingzone is TL, it's 100% game over. So we shouldn't say that it's not game over simply because it's 100 Thieves versus TeamLiquid.
Yeah. I would say that since we have the knowledge that Liquid will not play at the level of Kingzone, then the way I look at it is if you have percentages and this game state or this game, like before this fight happens, before 100 Thieves loses like top tower, right there, let's say that 100 Thieves has very generously 30% chance of winning this game. Liquid has 70%. If Kingzone was in this exact situation, they would probably have an 80% or 90% of winning this game against 100 Thieves.
Wait, Kingzone or TL?
Kingzone.
100%. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And then after this team fight, right, the original percentage was 30-70. If you just take the NA teams, it becomes like 10% for 100 Thieves to win. But they still have a chance to win. And so that's how I look at the VOD reviews, is just trying to maximize the ability for like each team to win. And I don't expect... I can show how Liquid could be playing at the level of Kingzone and what actions they should be doing, which is something that I do try to do, and I think you try to do. But I also try to show or I also like talking about how 100 can make plays knowing that Liquid won't be able to or won't be good enough to respond to them.
I think it's important to talk about the things that they should try to look for and to do, but
Yeah,
it's also
yeah,
important to acknowledge how things ought to be.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but yeah, like obviously, I mean, I still just don't like this fight, no matter what.
yeah, yeah.
I don't like
So,
how like. I think it's better for 100 Thieves to take the fight here than to go into the narrow corridor.
yeah,
I think if you fight with a defensive Ornn here who can simultaneously ultimate and challenge
come from the
Azir,
same side. Yeah,
yeah, challenge Azir, you get the Herald, you kite backwards into mid, and then what? Azir's gonna do his little combo to try to get back to mid, and then TL's cut off. So now TL is they're in a pickle. They're probably gonna end up keeping Impact top lane, right, to shove in the wave, and then the rest of them is gonna try to run through the red side jungle. But the problem is now you can probably just summon Rift Herald, which is actually a pretty key thing against Azir here, and you cut them off from entering through Wraiths, right? So if 100 Thieves just goes like this, they have 4 members here, Ornn TP here, right? Kill Herald,
yeah,
TL comes like this, Ornn ultimate like this, Ornn zones out Azir, and then you get the Herald, you capture it, you run, you just, you beeline straight to mid, right? And then Azir does his little combo thingy to maybe go around Wraiths or go into red, and then, or maybe he doesn't even need to, maybe he just runs around behind Wraiths, he gets to mid. So now you have 4 members in mid, you have 4 members cutting them off at Wraiths, so now TL has to go like this if they want to get in. They leave Singed behind, so now they have 1-4-0. Rift Herald is summoned right here on top of the control ward by Skarner or whoever, and it hits the wave, and the other members of TL are now here. They crash the wave in, Azir clears the wave with double lift, turret ends up going down, and then after the turret goes down, Cody's Sun goes from mid lane down into bottom lane, picks up the wave, and then you have Ryu back up, wait for the incoming wave that'll come out of the Nexus, Ryze eats that wave, and then you probably have Ryze just go back up to top lane to eat whatever wave are going to get sent in. Then you have Cody's Sun recall, Cody's Sun goes back into mid lane, you have Someday recall, Someday goes back down into bottom lane. I think that's all completely fine, and that should be the play, not moving upriver and trying to fight them in this corridor.
sure. So I think I just want to shit on Afro real quick right here. And before I do that, I just, preface that with I respect all the analysts and players and staff in the scene, but I think that they are open for criticism, right? So I just don't really know how far I can, push people on this kind of stuff. But if you go back to 10 minutes,
10 minutes.
I think this is where the support matchup, the support difference starts widening, right? Look, Afro and Ole have equal CS at this point, and then suddenly Ole starts picking up, and eventually gets like a 20 CS lead. But so here, can you pause for a sec?
Yeah.
So the weird thing about this is people expect the lane assignments aren't actually don't make sense, or like people just kind of accept that this is what happened. 100 Thieves takes the top tower, they get damage on the tier 2 top, right? And then what do people expect them to do next? Maybe go back bot, but what you see is Cody just goes top to farm, and Afro starts roaming around. And this is the chance for Afro to make a play, but he can't make a play on Pobelter. He can't like roam mid and really get anything on the Azir who's being babysat by the Sidrani. And so what ends up happening is Caitlyn and Braum are just pushing in Ornn. Ornn's not really pressured, but at the same time, Liquid's just generating more gold and more EXP. Cody's getting solo farm, but he's not, you get more EXP is created in this game when you have 2 people sharing it. I think it's something like if you have 1 person in a lane, you get 100% of the EXP, and if you have 2 people in a lane, you get 55 or 60% each. So you just get more stuff, right? And Ole is getting more gold generated too, also from his support item. So what happens is Ole goes back, and if you look at what they've bought, Afro bought Mobies, so no combat stats, and Ole buys his complete item, right? And so what happens also is that Afro's going for plays, he's roaming around, but he hasn't finished his quest yet. And this is something that I think most supports, as a support, you can't be restricted to, I'm going to sit in lane and that's the only thing I'm going to do. But at the same time, Afro actually hasn't succeeded in a playoffs match in so long, right? If you think about it, the last time he won got past, he missed Worlds last year. MSI CLG's great success was back in 2016. And right after coming back from MSI, CLG didn't do well in playoffs, but they just qualified with points to go to Worlds. And one thing I'll see Afro do is he'll just buy the Mobies, run around, and he's not accomplishing anything, right? I think Afro is definitely, I think he deserved the MVP for his regular split performance. There's not really any discussion there, and I'm not saying Afro is overrated, right? Like I don't really know how to keep up with the chat and also what people are saying, but when it came to this playoffs match, I expected more from him. And if you look at they're both level 6. Ole ends up getting a 2-level lead, and he has his quest completed, so he just sets up more vision around the map, right? And I think my point is really made by, if you keep on playing the clip.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Afro's looking for something mid. He can't find anything, so he goes top. He walks through, tries to set up some. He doesn't set up any vision here, and he's hanging out in the try to support Cody. But can you pause right here? The pink that he got spotted on like 4 or 5 minutes ago, it's still there, right? Like that's unacceptable. The pink that Impact placed, I don't know when, like 4 or 5 minutes.
I don't think that they know that it's there. And I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think that they would even think that it might be there because of the way that Impact reacted to the gank.
Yeah, because I think that's true. But if you're going for the Herald setup, you have to walk into these brushes and just clear out any potential pinks.
Sure.
Because it's clear that, like, you can sense that wards are there, and I think any Korean support or top tier support in the world would know that Liquid is playing with a confidence and playing up around this tri-brush, right? Like, Afro places a pink here, and Liquid just walks up and contests the vision, right? 100 can't go for a pick here.
All right, my whole thing with this, right? Because we just talked a while, is what do you want Afro to? This is one of the points that I think we're gonna have a really heavy disagreement. I don't think he can do anything different. Braum is supposed to be with Caitlyn, because we've already talked about how 100 Thieves is not the team that needs to be proactive. 100 Thieves needs to just fade any attempt at a gank or a pick or anything. Braum should be hugging a carry. Braum, we already also talked about that this is all 100 Thieves needs for vision. This side of the map, right? They don't need to move out. They don't need to do Dragon. They don't need Herald. They just need to stop Herald. They don't need turrets because their gold is more efficient. Right?
Yeah.
So Braum, by nature, should be with his carry more often than Aframu. I think Aframu getting Moby Boots is correct, because he acknowledges we cannot go minute for minute. Every minute that passes, TL gets more value. Like, TL gets 1,200 gold and 100 Thieves gets 900. Like, even if the gold income is even, this is how it is turning out. I think Afro is recognizing that it is necessary to get the Moby Boots. It is necessary to try to make the plays. The problem that he can't make plays, that's not on him. That is the nature of the team compositions, what has unfolded in the prior 10 minutes. Him falling behind to Ole has nothing to do with Afro versus Ole. It has nothing to do with Alistar versus Braum. It has to do with Alistar with Trist, with Ryze, with Skarner, with Ornn on blue side versus Caitlyn, Azir, Sedge, Singed on red side and the prior 10 minutes. I don't think there's anything different. I mean, there's things he can do differently, but to say that, missing relic stacks or not completing his quest or something, that's not good. Why would you want Aframu to complete quest? Because that means that you're incentivizing him to stay with his carry, share XP, and then go tit for tat against TL. But you can't. You can't keep up with TL in the race. For every, 1 foot that you get, they get 2. So why would you want to try to go 1-for-1 when you realistically can't because of the team compositions? It's already set in stone that TL wins by doing nothing. Eventually, 100 Thieves runs out of fuel. Eventually, 100 Thieves gets desperate. Eventually, 100 Thieves becomes R-bots. Eventually, 100 Thieves will just bend over at Baron and die because they have no way of penetrating the red side jungle of TeamLiquid. They have no way of split pushing with Ornn. They have no way of utilizing a 1-3-1 with this Ryze because Ornn is too slow. And Azir will just go to the lane that Ryze is at because you're likely going to send Ryze up to top lane. But you can't send Ornn up to top lane, he's too slow and sluggish. So Ryze is going to be the one to go to top, and then Azir is just going to go la-di-da-di-da. He's going to come up here, and he's going to shove the wave. And you can't do anything. You can't use Ryze portals, because again, this team comp is too slow and sluggish. You're just going to rock into a Shurima shuffle. So I don't know what you want Afro to do. I really, really don't. I don't think there's anything he can do. I think Moby Boots is 100% the correct decision. I think Quest Item doesn't do anything because it doesn't achieve anything. He needs Tristana and Ryze to get ahead. If 100 Thieves doesn't have a 5k gold lead at like 16, 17 minutes, they lose. I mean, I think they lose out off this Rift Herald thing. But it's really gross to even say that 100 Thieves with a 5k gold lead at 20 minutes is behind, because they are.
So this is exactly what I want Afro to do. I want him to look for plays to roam, but I don't... This actually starts... This goes way back further than this game state. What I'm trying to say is, and I know that I didn't clearly convey it, is if you look at Afromu's rune setup, what is he taking? Right?
Aftershock, yeah.
Yes. But if you look at his inspiration tree, I think he took Dematerializer, which I guess helps the laning a little bit better. And he also took approach velocity or something like that. I think that it is totally fine to go for... I think it is superior in this scenario to go for boots. To go for the free boots and inspiration. And at this point, he'd be roaming around with those boots, and he could match Ole. So Ole has completed his quest here, right? He has one extra ward.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when Afro completes his quest, but that is so much less vision. Like he's getting no wards out of his thing. And so if he is trying to set up around Rift Herald, they're not actually looking to make a play, right? I think that people are saying... People aren't understanding what... Just because he buys Mobies and roams around, I think that is an autopilot perspective that needs to be challenged. I don't think it's the right scenario 100% of the time. And I think if you look at how the team fight plays out, it is, and you look at how the next 2 or 3 team fights play out, Afro has significantly less impact than Ole.
Well,
and whether that's because of the pick ban, right? Like, I think if you get credit for macro decision making and you get credit for making plays, and every playoffs, if you go back and look at his 2016, 2017, 2018 playoffs performances, the difference between his regular season and his regular season performance and his playoffs performance dips drastically. He'll grab Moby Boots 3 games in a row, and his team will just lose because, like, he needs the combat stats here. I think 100% you want either Merc Treads, Lucidity, or something else.
But okay, so you said that you want him to take the boots, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We are 6 minutes and 30 seconds into the game, and 100 Thieves is already behind.
Yeah.
At this standstill.
Yep.
Okay. The only way they recover is with plays.
Yep.
Boots don't come online until 10 minutes.
But I don't think you go into the lane phase and expect... Okay, so I think there's no scenario in which... One of the most famous plays that North America had was back in...
But hold on. Let's stop talking about North American players. Tell me what Alistar and these champions can do against these champions.
Okay, so the free boots does one main thing. It has one drawback, which is that you can't buy boots before 10 minutes, right?
Yes.
At no point in this game plan, in the pick ban, is Afro being told by Prolly, all right, I want you to recall at 7 minutes, grab Moby Boots, roam mid, roam top, make a play.
No, he's not. But I think any
Yeah.
World Elite level support would know that.
Yeah. I think that they know that they're in for a tough laning phase because they don't want Caitlyn to get a first free back, and they just want to go for the 2v2. And I don't know if they had the uh, lane swap pre-planned out, or if that was just something they saw an opportunity for because Caitlyn Braum froze the lane. But I think that 100 Thieves definitely knew that they were going to have to lane for a significant period of time. And Ole grabs, biscuits and boots, and Afro goes for two, in my opinion, like runes that he just doesn't utilize. And yeah. Okay, so I think this will become a lot more
So
clear.
let's remove Afro and let's remove the humans from the situation. What do you want Alistar to do in this team comp? Don't talk about Afro. Don't talk about his past. Don't talk about anything.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me about Alistar.
Right now, regardless of who this is, I would be criticizing him.
Okay,
right?
But if you're talking about Alistar and you're talking about Ionian or Lucidity or Merc Treads, etc., the game's already too far gone. Why? Like, if you think that boots are going to dramatically impact or change the way that a team fight unfolds, the game's already too far gone.
Okay, so I disagree. I think the game's not too far. I'm not saying that he gets Merc Treads first before Mobies. I'm saying he just relies on the 35 movement speed from the free magical boots.
Which comes online at 10 minutes.
Yeah, which comes online at 10 minutes, or slightly earlier if they get a takedown, which they do on Singed.
Okay.
And, okay, I think few people in the chat also understand gold efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
Moby boots are basically useless in a team fight, right? The gold efficiency goes way down. Outside of a team fight, it goes like up to 110% or something. But the Relic Shield upgrade, Targan's Brace, has 56% gold efficiency in stats from HP, health regen, etc., right?
Well, yeah, that's nice, but how applicable is it really? Like, on paper, Lethality Lucian does the most damage, but we know that the way that he curves into his items and stuff, and the way that he actually teamfights against world-level players, he can't just go Lethality Lucian. On paper, stats and gold and stuff can be good, but I mean, I said at 6:30 in this very VOD review, this game is in a nightmare state. We're at 6:30. What could your different rune setup have changed right now at 6:30 that doesn't make it so that 100 Thieves is in a nightmare state? Because you want boots. Boots aren't going to be online at 6:30. So the nightmare state still persists. So then
the nightmare state is going to persist no matter what Afro does, and I accept that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing that Afro could do right now that would have been different during the laning phase, right? I think Afro played as perfectly until 10 minutes. I can't see his laning. I don't know exactly what kind of trades they took, but I can say that, right?
But what do you want him to do different?
I want him to him to spec hard into. Okay, the way you laid out the framework of this game is we know Azir and Caitlyn and Sejuani can just play safe, right? They can play back. So are we expecting Alistar to roam behind Raptors and dive the flash combo the Azir out of his turret? No, we're not. So if you are hard committing to this teamfight composition, if you're hard committing to the pick composition, you aren't looking for a roam play and trying to pressure like a 1v1 lane, right? You're not going to this Camille Gnar lane and trying to get the top laner ahead. You get Ornn ahead, you get Ryze ahead, it's not going to matter. So what you want to do is you want to win these team fights as well as you can. And the way that you win team fights is you get as much gold, you get the most stats that you can. And if you look, Afro is really, really weak in these team fights. And a lot of the times pro players take fights and they don't understand. They don't understand why we necessarily lost that, because the game state is always different, right? So one fight you take in a scrim, you're level 6 with 2,000 gold in items. One game you're level 7 and you have, 2,500 gold in items. And my point is, from 10 minutes on, Afro looks for something. And what you're saying and what I agree with is, Afro wants Afro wants to, like, he has to change this game state, but you're not going to do that through winning a team. You're not going to do that through running into the lane and comboing someone because you have Moby boots. That's never going to work on Pobelter or on Azir, who just can get out so easily, unless they do a really coordinated play with 3 people, and they don't have the vision set up for that or the tempo set up for that.
And I agree with you. You're never going to do it on Azir. I don't care about Pobelter, but you're never going to do it on Azir.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not Afro's fault, though.
I'm not saying that's Afro's fault. I'm saying that you knowing that means that you don't buy the Moby boots, and you go for the support gold item. You walk into lane occasionally if Tristana is in this top lane trying to get big. And I think there is a good chance that you can win a team fight if you make sure that your EXP, your gold are closer and there's not this gap. So 100 Thieves is basically going all in, and Afro is going all in by buying these boots. But the risk is basically, to me, increasing your loss from a 30%, or like increasing your win, decreasing your win chance from a 30% to a 10%. And the reward is you make one play and you maybe get to like a 45%. But I think the more we talk about this, it's like, I think I just want to show you how the team fight plays out from here, right?
Okay.
So
my only thing is, it's 10 minutes right now.
Yeah.
What would you want him to do different?
I want him to go straight to top. I don't want him to hang around mid right here. I want him to... So look at the vision that 100 Thieves has. It's actually really strong here, right? Mm-hmm. They have vision. I can't like draw on your screen, but they have 2 pinks, and they have the wards set up towards the tier 2, right? Mm-hmm. So the path that Afro takes, he literally walks to that first pink you see, and then walks to that second pink. Mm-hmm. He doesn't place any vision during that time. Okay. He doesn't threaten anything at that time. I want him to just go into that lane, or not that lane. I want him to go near Herald, make sure there's no pink there, make sure there's no pink in the pit, make sure there's no pink in the line brush. Mm-hmm. Because you said very clearly that in the river, you can, like, these are the 6 wards that Liquid needs to place down to just be fine, right?
This, and this is basically...
Yeah, and you also mentioned the one that they have right now, right? That's one thing that I thought was interesting. You predicted, or you pointed out that Impact placing a pink there would, like, give him enough vision to predict, or to see a lot of ganks before they came. Because usually Singed, the reason Singed places that pink there is because, unlike most top laners, he never wants to be under his tower even when he's behind. He always wants to be like around the middle of the lane, getting lane priority, pushing this, or just killing the CS with his poison. Mm-hmm. And that's why having the pink in your try as a defensive red side top laner is a lot less useful than having it in that line brush. So I think that, teams are just not used to playing against Singed, but that's where he always places his pink. Whenever I lane against a top laner in, Masters Elo, that Singed will either have his pink there, or he'll have it deep inside my topside jungle, right?
Okay.
So here, from 10 minutes to 11 minutes, or whenever they start fighting around Herald, Afro has done nothing. In the meantime, Ole pushed and bought with double lift, recalled, bought 1,000 gold worth of stats in HP. You go from a 56% efficient Targon's Brace to 100% efficient Eye of the Remnant. His quest completes not even from getting more CS in lane, but just from the passive gold regeneration, walking back into lane. His quest pops right around when Braum gets to the tier 2 tower, or something like that, right? So he has an extra ward for the team fight, and 100 Thieves, like, they took that team fight poorly. But my point is that who wanted 100 Thieves to fight there, right? Who wanted 100 Thieves to fight in that choke? And I can tell you with, like, 60, 70, 80% certainty that it was Afro's call. When I first did my review on TSM versus G2, I predicted that, or I was like, I knew that Expect was the one that called for the repeated engages onto TSM, the 3 engages that had them win, right? And then once comms were released, you hear Expect saying, guys, trust me, I'm going to go in here. It's not Mithy, and you can tell based off of how people are moving off the map and how they are moving, and like where they're standing,
So
what they're thinking.
But
Right. And so Afro goes to the tri-bush where they have the pink in the top side. He stands there and he says, guys, we need to make a pick on them as they're coming into Herald. And these are the little details that I think that you have to challenge a player to think about what could I have done better? And it's not always a clear point where, like, my point is not to say you bought Mobies, that was the wrong move in all these situations. I think in this specific game state, we go into the team fight at 11 minutes, and there you'll see that, maybe it wasn't just the fact that Afro had less health, that he was able to tank less damage, but he definitely misplays this, and he plays this worse than every other member of 100 Thieves. And I think that's just a fact, right? I'm not flaming Afro. Again, like, no matter the Alistar that played this, I think another hot take, right, is that C9, or like Sneaky, was one of the worst performers on C9 in their quarterfinals loss, 3-0. And I don't know if you watched those games, but literally no one will ever tell you that, right? Literally everyone will say Sneaky played well on Ezreal. And I think they're not seeing the things that I value, which is these little micro decisions, right? Watch this fight slowly on less than 2 times speed. So they go for the pick on Singed. Afro is already out of the fight, right? He can't do anything here. But Pobelter goes for a pick. Pobelter blasts over here. Pause right here. Afro saves Pobelter, right? Ryu roots him. Pobelter, like, his cleanse doesn't cleanse anything. Just watch that. And you can't fuck that up, right? You have to win this team. Like, this is a free kill, and 100 Thieves has a gold lead, and this is the time they should be making plays and winning team fights. And it's not just the fact that, look, they didn't have vision in this team fight. They didn't take a good spot. Some days TP, he had to TP all the way into the, I don't know if you see it, but that top blue ward that's right around where the dead red tower is. That's where Someday TP.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and Impact, like, Someday actually TPs several seconds before Impact. So
What?
Sheep is saying, okay, I mean, I just see Sheep in the chat saying he doesn't have mana for Q, and that is just wrong, right? Like, look at how much mana he has right now. That's at least 200 mana. He goes for a W, and then I don't know if he goes for the Q, but he uses E or something. So that was a free kill on Pobelter, 100%.
I mean, even if they kill Pobelter here, right? My main things is, why talk about this mistake by Afro instead of the cumulative mistake of the team? And then also, where does Boots come in here?
So Boots comes in later as well, but here it specifically matters because in the team fight, he has to run out way earlier than if he had 200-300 extra HP. His Boots, my problem with Moby Boots is if you don't have clear opportunities to roam top, to make a play, to make these picks on people who are overextended and you like have follow-up CC, then in a team fight you're moving at 25-35 movement speed. Like your out of combat movement speed is gone. So you actually have faster move speed when you have free boots than you do with Moby Boots in a team fight, right?
Okay.
So right here, he may not even have had to flash W. He goes for a flash combo onto Pobelter because he doesn't think Ryu's root is going to last long enough. But throughout this whole team fight, you can watch and see that Afro would be able to set up more vision around Rift Herald. Afro would be able to last longer in the team fight, and he would be. It's just a better buy, for sure, because it has more gold generation over time, and it gives you the option of going for other boots.
But would we? I mean, 10 minutes, right? You said that because he didn't get anything, you thought it was bad. that he didn't get anything off the Moby Boots, and we should know
So no,
that Azir shouldn't die to a gank or anything. That requires Azir to make a mistake. I would
yeah.
then, offer a rebuttal that it is less likely that Team Liquid makes a mistake for a team fight with more complete information than it is for them to die to a mobility boots Alistar gank. I think it's less likely that if the game goes to 30 minutes, that TL is more likely to make a mistake that would cost them a game. I think it's more likely that you're right, Azir shouldn't die, but I think it's more likely that he dies now than he would at 30 minutes. Just because there's more complete information. So this is like a gamble. The mobility, no matter what, Alistar will be behind regardless, whether he goes Moby Boots or whether he goes the other boots. But I think that there's a higher percentage chance. Let's say that his chance to kill Azir right now is 40%. Let's say if 20 minutes goes by, it goes down to 15.
Yeah.
Then you have to take the 40. You can't take the 15 just because at that exact point in time, it's more beneficial. You have to take what'll win you the game. Not what, you have to win the war, not the fight.
So yeah, I understand what you're saying. But I'm not doing a results-based thing where I'm like, Moby Boots are bad because it didn't pay off. I'm saying that in every situation coming out of base here, I wouldn't get Mobies. And I think I'll leave it at that. But
Okay.
like I think I think the chance of making a play on Azir here is lower than 40%, especially when.
Oh, I think it is too. I'm just giving you numbers to
Yeah, sure.
showcase that I think that it is even grossly lower later on.
Yeah.
But a lot of the problems that we talked about in regards to the itemization is a byproduct of the pick ban and the color.
Yeah.
Braum gets to be under his turret right here.
Yeah, and I'm
And
sorry that
the team fight
stayed so long at this point.
No. The team fight thing, I mean, even if Afro messes up, I mean, I don't think he played it. I mean, you can say that him missing a combo. So the thing is that it's problematic if Afro doesn't recognize that his combo is a problem.
Yeah.
Right? Which I think anyone with a brain can recognize that not getting the kill on Pobelta there is obviously bad. I think that someday whiffing his ult is really bad. Yeah. I think that the call to even have the team fight's really bad. I don't think that it's good to say with 100% certainty that Afro called for the team fight to unfold. Unless, like, there's access to comms or something, right? That's just not something that I think is healthy. Because you don't know. Not you, but anyone doesn't know.
Yeah.
I like
So the reason, okay, so if you pause right here, right? Like, I think that the reason I make these kinds of claims that aren't completely verifiable, but I have an intuition for, is because instead of starting the Herald or moving towards the lower side, right? I do think that their primary shot caller is Afro, and that's like confirmed by them. Meteos does a bit, but it frustrates me because the main mistakes that I saw throughout this game, it was already a game. You're right when you say there's a lot of cumulative mistakes that lead up to this point, right? It's not all on Afro, and I think that's not what I was trying to say, and I must have come off that way to you and to everyone else. But I think if you just play on from here, there's other symptoms of him falling behind. And when you say things like Alistar is always going to be behind, I don't think that's true. I think that's
why.
I think Alistar can scale up comparably to Braum just fine. And the interesting thing about
in the 1-to-1.
In the 1-to-1 and relative to Azir and Caitlyn, he's always going to be just something for them to hit, right? He's never going to have that much pressure on them, but getting to 11 that much faster so you can have that 20-minute team fight with 65% damage reduction versus 45%, like all those things. I think once you realize at a certain point that you won't be able to make a high fee early play, you need to you can't double down and just keep looking for them. You need to think, how can I get myself in a position and to a power level where I can make an impact in a team fight. And those little things like 1 or 2 levels or 30 CS difference in the support role ends up mattering a lot in terms of how much gold he has in items, when he can get Locket, those items. And so,
you think Alistar's equal to Braum in these team comps?
in these team comps, I think Braum is a sitting duck in some ways. I think if you try in something psychological that a lot of teams try to do is they target one person, whether that's their picks or their pressure, and I think targeting Ole here is their best option, right? You're not gonna. It's really hard to get onto Azir and Caitlyn for a Skarner ult. Chasing a Singed is really difficult, and bringing him into your team is difficult. So later on, you'll see that the only picks that 100Thieves ends up making are on. That's not like an organized team fight, because they do have a team fight where they kill Double Lift.
Mm-hmm.
But the organized team fights where they make picks, they get a pick on Ole and they get a pick on Xmithy. And both times it's because of the tools that they have with Skarner, ult, and Alistar CC. I think that in a team fight, Braum is definitely stronger. But Afro has windows, like the windows of opportunity don't involve. He's not going to get a good flank off. He needs to go for combat stats.
Right, so you're acknowledging that the Alistar is only stronger if certain setups occur.
Yeah.
But those setups often are requiring TeamLiquid usually to make a mistake. So then Braum, you're right, he is a sitting duck. He's going to sit next to his main carries and press R defensively. He's going to shield defensively. He's going to use everything defensively. If you change Azir, or you change Sejuani to different champions, like change Azir to, I don't know, Syndra, change Azir to Twisted Fate, well now suddenly Braum has to play different. He doesn't have the luxury of just hugging his AP carry or AD carry and then casting everything defensively and never walking up to the opponent, right? Braum might now need to actually use Stand Behind Me and then R aggressively to open, and then Syndra chains ultimate or something like that. But in this specific instance, they don't need to do that because of the long-range barrage from Azir and Caitlyn. So like I think the dynamics are... Yeah, the dynamics are really important.
Yeah.
So I think that Braum really cucks 100Thieves.
For sure. But once you're in this game, once you've already done the pick ban, if you're that player, in solo queue, I might be like, yo, I'm playing Alistar and like we're fucked. But if I were, I think any support on a professional team needs to think, I just need to be a meat shield, and how do I get to there as quickly as possible?
Okay.
I think you need to approach the game differently. And so, yeah, let's just move on.
Yeah. Do you agree with the notion that, like, let's say, so the optimized macro play that I suggested was that, well, Cody should have already been here.
Yeah.
Right? Cody should...
Yeah, Cody shouldn't have pushed out another wave.
Yeah, Cody should already be here.
Yeah.
All right. Even right here, Cody can just come down right now instead of just walking up, right?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Cody comes down immediately. Everyone's here. TL comes in like this.
Yeah.
Hold on. Oh, Epic Time, sorry. Instead of this teleport, you could you have Orange just TP here, you have Orange stay bottom or something. TP here. 4 members, 100Thieves here. TL comes like this, Orange ultimate the runway. Orange zones out Azir, you get Herald, and then you have all 5 people go down to mid. Azir does this little thing, he comes this way. Singed probably TPs and stays top, right? To shove in the wave and try to get the turret. And the other 3 members of TeamLiquid go like this, la-di-da-di-da, right? They just come this way and they try to go through raids. Mid turret falls, and then after mid turret falls, you have Cody Sun go bottom, pick up the wave, shove 1 more wave, and then you have him recall, him go back into mid lane to pick up the wave, and then you have Someday, then you just play the side lanes. I think that is the absolute best macro rotation that exists when TL makes a huge blunder like this. I don't see what the champions can do from the state of the map to play against that. I think that Herald and mid turret always falls, and then 100 Thieves finds themselves with tempo in all 3 lanes. That's what I think. I don't know if you see a different play.
No, I think that's right.
Okay.
I think that. My one main claim is that 100 Thieves. Sorry, did my microphone just?
Yeah, it cut out for a second, but it's fine now.
Okay, cool. Is that 100 Thieves didn't play. They played worse around mic. They played worse in their micro than they did in their macro.
Perhaps. I mean, I'm only 10 minutes in, so.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
That's something that I just want to throw out there because everyone's been shitting on them for their macro decisions. Yeah.
Well, I said right here the game was over at 12 minutes.
Yeah, for sure.
I wholeheartedly believe that it's over. I would give insane odds in like a bet. Because I just there's no way that I see for 100 Thieves to recover from this standpoint, and the reason that I say that is because again their champions are worth less gold. So for like every 1,000 that TL gets, 100 Thieves gets 700 or something, right? And then on top of that, they are now behind tempo in every lane. Infernal Drake's coming up, which is a dragon that they can't give away. TL has control already on the right-hand side. They're going to be the first ones to get control of the right-hand side. They're going to get an Infernal Drake. The Infernal Drake is going to be absolutely insane right now in terms of stats efficiency.
Yeah.
And I don't think 100 Thieves has anything to do. They're missing summoners on their key players.
Mm-hmm.
And TL has everything. So I really think the game's over. And I think it's because of this macro call. Whoever called it, I don't know who. 100 Thieves clearly didn't see the rotation that I suggested. And I think that they played it poorly. I think that their macro play to do the top thing was really good to get the turret. I think Impact dying was a really, really big mistake. I think that TeamLiquid killing the Ocean Drake was a bad play that turned out okay. It's so bad that it's good because they rolled an Infernal and this happens. But I don't know. We'll
but
see.
right here...
Yeah.
Just the thing that upsets me most is the fact that they lose this team fight. And this wasn't the right call, but at worst it should have been a 1-for-1. And it becomes not just a 1-for-0 because Azir gets out, but they also lose top tower and they lose tempo. Like this tower should never... If Azir dies here, they can defend 4v4, right? And on top of that, like the fact that they lose this team fight, Someday's level 9, Impact's level 8. Impact doesn't have a single completed item. He has the blasting wand and some components. Someday has a full banner of command and also, which isn't a combat item, but it still has stats. And he has another piece of his next item. So I think the bottom line here is it was a bad call, but it should not have gone as badly as it did. And it went as badly as it did because 100 Thieves, micro-wise, misplayed, right? Someday misplayed on the ult. The one thing that was really interesting was I think Meteo's ults singed right as Singe is trying to fling Skarner, and so what ends up happening is like Singe doesn't have flip for 10 seconds or whatever, right? That should have been another okay, we win this team fight, right? Because Impact doesn't get his aftershock off, he's squishier, like the team fight should just be worse for them, but like it's just
You said you wanted this to be a 1-for-1, but Cobelter shouldn't even go in. Right here?
Yeah.
This is over. Fight's over. Everyone knows Someday's dying.
Yeah.
There's nothing else these champions can do to change that Someday will fall. There is a giant wave in mid, and Azir is not committed to the fight, nor does he need to be. He can walk up like he does. At this point, he shouldn't have hit this. He should have stayed right here. Right?
So if Someday instead of charging towards topside, if he charges straight into the wall where Liquid is, maybe he knocks up the 3 of them and he flashes over the wall and he's out, right? That's a chance.
Oh, you want him to do knock... Alright, hold on.
I want him to walk towards Ryu, because Ryu's the one that can peel for him best, right? So right there, instead of going up, right there when everyone's retreating, if he goes straight down there,
Flash?
or yeah, a little bit further down, like angle wise.
Yeah. I get what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
You want him to come down here, hit the wall, knock up, and then flash over.
Yeah, and I think 100 gets out even if Pobelter doesn't go for the play, right?
Yeah,
And it's that, but
100
like,
Thieves still loses.
at least, yeah,
It's better,
Thieves,
but yeah.
But they haven't lost as much tempo, right? They haven't lost a tower and a kill and all this experience. So
That's true. It's better
Yeah.
for them to do that.
yeah, yeah.
It's going to come
So-
at the cost of his flash, which, I mean, he uses his flash anyway, so it doesn't really matter all that much.
Yeah.
There's also the argument of how does TL choose to follow up, because they still all have their flashes. And if you want Azir to do his Shurima Shuffle with flash included and cleanse, things could get bloody if everyone wants to come over the wall.
Yeah.
I think that he can get out at the expense of his flash, but I think that even if he gets out at the expense of his flash and he comes over this wall, TL now controls this, they control this, they go back into mid, this lane is going to shove back into them, they're going to get mid, they're going to shove it in, all the control wards die, and then Azir's going to recall, everyone's going to recall, double lift's going to go down to bottom, eat this wave, shove one more wave, Azir's going to come back to mid, shove wave, go to blue, tap blue, go into river with Ole, with double lift, with X Smithy, they're going to control Infernal, get Infernal, go back mid, for mid, and then you end up having Azir, or you have double lift go top lane to pick up the 1.5 waves that are going to be crashing into their top tier turret, and there's no Rift Herald possibility for 100 Thieves. And then you just leave Impact in bottom. I think that that's always going to be the macro play. Or it should be, but TL's probably
let's
not
see.
going
Let's
to.
see how they play it.
Yeah. Your tail's hanging out. Okay, we got top. Another replay. Okay. Zero gets blue, everyone moves Infernal, capture Infernal. How much is it worth right now? They're not clicking on any of the TL champions. Alright, 100 Thieves gets into the river, but doesn't matter because you'll never win a team fight. Oh, managed to go 1 for 1, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So that. Okay. So here, can you back up a little bit more? I think. Oh yeah. So TL resets, but Impact stays to clear out the wave. So he's still sitting on, no completed item. But the good thing is that he's here first, right? And Orin's in the bot side. So effectively, this is a 5v4, even though some of the TL members, you can't see them because it's in fog, but they're basically all together, the 5 of them in that choke. And I think 100 Thieves shouldn't be walking up here. I know they want to establish vision, but they don't need to take this route. They get that word of the wall, but they should be taking they should be walking closer to Raptor side.
Yes, I agree with that. They should be hugging here, clear this out, and then they need to wait for a wave to appear in mid lane. They need to wait for this to occur, so that if TL funnels into the river, they can get an Orin flank with Someday coming from this brush, and then they can look to take the fight that way if they really want to stop the Infernal. The only other option would be that if they stalemate right here, and then TL goes into here, once the wave collides in mid, if TL doesn't manage this properly, they can concede Infernal Drake in favor of trying to accelerate their gold by going back into mid lane, cutting them off here, getting a turret, and then going up, taking Raptors, getting control over Herald, and then looking to regroup and get Herald. I agree that they should hug this wall.
Yeah, and they should also try to wait for Someday. This is a big thing.
Yeah.
And so, can you pause here? This team fight's just, Pobelter, this whole series got 4 or 5 shuffles that you can say that they shouldn't have been able to happen, but they were really clean, right? Like mechanically, Pobelter, this was his best series since 2015. Honestly, it's pretty insane. And here, again, stats wise, 100 Thieves, even though their gold is pretty close, Afro's level 6, Oli's level 8.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you see how quickly he gets chunked out. And part of that's his positioning and his micro. Part of that's also how far he's been set behind. So that's
Okay.
just something I wanted to point out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now they lose Infernal.
Yeah.
They send back a Azir because it's overkill. Azir should just go top. Yeah, okay, he does. That's good. They send Sandwich mid. Okay, that's all fine. Next Drake Ocean. That's really good for TL. Not because they want it, but just because now 100 Thieves has to... 100 Thieves is now... They need Elder to come online because they're so far behind. So now 100 Thieves is incentivized to be the one to try to capture that, which then leaves them susceptible to another fight.
Yeah. I really like how Impact uses his time, even when he's not getting a wave. Right? He'll make sure that his backs don't coincide with the rest of his team for resets, and he'll just clear the waves in the middle lane, or go for clearing a scuttle when he's waiting for the wave to crash on him so he doesn't get ganked. So he's playing it really smart. And he's not playing overly aggressive or running in and dying as Singed, because Afro's looking for a pick on him right now, and they can't get it. So
I feel like all that's going to happen now is, what, like 1 or 2 more items? I mean, there might be a few more team fights, but to put it into perspective, it's like 100 Thieves is like, it's almost like the equivalency of being down 10k gold, like for what that means, like what that saying means. I think that it's impossible for TL to lose, assuming equal skill level from this standpoint, unless like we're talking about equal skill level from like a super wild card region, then anything can happen. But I think at this level of play, even skill level, it's really, really difficult.
I think they have one big window, which is just when Ryu gets 2 items, he'll be stronger than Azir.
Yeah, they
Not
have to flip
full on.
coins.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how much gold Infernal's giving right now, but later on it's going to be nuts. Yeah, Paul Belter's up in top. This is the only reason I don't like the Singe pick. He's doing in this game what Fiora could basically do, except Fiora's more valuable.
Singe is just better at team fighting, but Fiora definitely applies more side lane pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
But there's
they
a
could
chance...
have Shen. I think it would achieve almost the same purpose. You don't need to actually flip Cody-san or Ryu to win the game. You just need to make sure double lifter or Paul Belter don't go down. Rift Herald gets used. Did they need to use it here? I don't know. I wasn't watching.
So what happens is Impact roams mid first, and yeah. Someday's still in the bot lane clearing. So yeah, 4v3.
Well, this is gonna be a byproduct of the 100 Thieves team comp. If they fall behind in tempo at all to this team, it's gonna be almost impossible to come back. So
Yeah.
I feel like this game you can predict from 10 minutes. When that Rift Herald goes down, you can know that all of this will happen, or that all of this will follow suit. Another Ocean, TL picks it up, which I think is really, really bad. They roll another Drake, and then my question now is, do they kill the Drake before 29 minutes, or do they kill it after 29? I think killing it, or just letting it live, or actually killing it at like 28-40 would be the best play, because then it forces another dragon to spawn, and then Elder is just super, super delayed. And that's one of 100 Thieves' only outs, is to like steal an Elder, or get a pick and then try to capitalize.
Sure.
Just can't do anything. Team comp's terrible. It's really, 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 really fucking bad.
So the Ornn ult gets blocked by Braum. And they just... Someday we'll do this a lot, where he'll walk into someone's lane and try to get an Ornn ult off. But they can't. Teal would have to sneeze or something.
What the hell?
Yeah. So here, Smithy just they didn't clear out the vision well enough because there's still a lot of 100 Thieves blue
What the hell
blue
are they
wards there.
doing?
They're just trying to get Baron vision, and then I guess he thought they could go for a pick on Ryu, but because they technically have more members, right? That was like a 5v4, but they just weren't all together.
Yeah, but why even do that? You know, like just wait 3 items. 3 items, a move. This is
I do think this like Meteos and Afro deserve credit for this though, because it's not like Xmithy had some actually inting plays in his earlier series against C9 and Echo Fox, but here he doesn't expect that he's gonna get ulted and then comboed and then
yeah,
thrown
but
further in.
this is literally KT versus SKT when they get caught inside of the same jungle. Like, pause the game and remove the players from the game. And if you're TeamLiquid, you have absolute control. You get to be the commander. What do? You don't look for picks. You're already so far ahead. It doesn't matter. This is like it's a win more to get another pick. You just wait for 3 items, and then the 3 items, right? You have Singe control this wave. You control this wave. You slow push this wave by killing 3 melee minions and leaving it right around here, and it slow pushes in. So you have 3 waves simultaneously pushing into them. And then you group inside of this river. You control all the vision around here. You don't allow any flank teleports, whatever. You have control wards. And then you start the Baron at 3 items with the Azir and Caitlyn. You have the traps, and then 100 Thieves will try to come in, and then they just die. So
I think it is dangerous though, because there's a chance that they rise ult Skarner in, and then he goes for a steal or something, right?
yeah, that's the only thing that, I mean, 100 Thieves has to time that. And then if they time it incorrectly and Baron's at 3k HP, then Skarner just dies. Skarner looks like Mike Young getting Rise ulted in as Shyvana.
Yep.
So I just think that if you're the commander and you have TL under control, that you just tell them not to do anything. You just have them continuously scale. Did you ever play StarCraft?
A little bit.
1 or 2? StarCraft 1 or 2?
2.
Oh, 2, okay. This would be like, wait for Broodlord Infestor.
Mm-hmm.
You know? You don't need to try to win with roaches. Come up top, they shove. All this vision doesn't matter. The other thing that is important to note is that 100 Thieves actually has to invest more into vision control than TL does in terms of control words. So then you calculate the gold that's going to be lost there. Replay. I feel like there's just going to be one final team fight. 2.5 items across the board. Yeah, you're always dying. Oh, double lift goes down.
Yeah, so the way that they win this team fight is, for the first time, Someday is able to get the jump on impact, and he just runs mid, and they're fighting over the Baron vision, but I think they double lift. This is like his only death this series, I think, so he doesn't expect to get picked here.
So who do you credit here? Do you credit 100 Thieves, or do you think that this is TL making a misplay?
So this is what 100 Thieves wanted to be doing all along, right? But the reason they couldn't is because Impact always had the lane pushing in, and I think I credit Someday for finally finding a window of opportunity, because the matchup it's honestly impossible to push Singe in unless you find a recall timing where Singe is in base coming back to lane. And the other thing is, it's not Pobelter's fault, right? The lane assignments are 1-3-1. He has to go top. So I think TL should expect that 100 Thieves is going to make a play with the Rise ult, but since they haven't seen the Rise ult basically the entire game, it's out of their mind, out of sight, out of mind. And here, I think if you look at the micro plays, 100 Thieves, this is the one fight where everyone does what they have to do. Someday lands a good Birdle on double lift. Double lift plays it as well as he can. He flashes at the last second, and I think, I would credit 100 Thieves. I do think Liquid could have avoided it, but I don't think it was a huge, obvious misplay. I think it was, it was a good punish by 100 Thieves.
If we rewind and you're able to, so you just told me everything that 100 Thieves needs to have happen.
Yeah.
It's a need, not a want.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So because it's a need, TL should be able to ask themselves, what do they need? hear the answer, and then not let it happen.
I agree.
So if
I think that
double
coming
lift just
from
stays
base-
here and waits for the wave, right? Or waits for these
Yeah.
three, this play can't happen.
Yeah.
This is why, even though it's good that 100 Thieves capitalizes on the misplay of TeamLiquid, I think that it is just that. It is a misplay. Obviously, they get credit for capitalizing on it, but the reality of the situation is that this is the fundamental problems with the team comps, is that this starts with double lift made a mistake. That's the first sentence. By stepping up. Then the nice sentence, right, that is part of the narrative, is that 100 Thieves capitalizes on it using the tools that their team composition offers to punish misplays like this. But the word misplay is still present in the sentence. So if you rewind everything, you know, it's so hard for them to do anything.
I do think though that a lot of team compositions are built around that, right? Like
Of course,
if what you say is Caitlyn can't walk past this point in the lane, then that composition is pretty good, at least at picking off Caitlyn there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Requires your opponent not to
Afro
play
does a
around.
really good job of hiding in that brush and picking them. Does he? Yeah, he's hiding over there. He goes for the combo. They get Pobelter with the flash scorn roll. The first time we really see them get that onto a carry. So that was well played. This is all well played by 100 Thieves. But here's where Singed's picks really shines, and again, they don't know how. Yeah. So the one thing I think I wanted here was Afro couldn't have done anything because he can't combo Xmithy. What ends up happening is the Singed drops the adhesive, so you can't use any of your dashes. Afro doesn't have flash, so he can't get over the wall earlier. The only person who can really stop Xmithy from getting in is Ryu. Ryu should have flashed over the wall earlier at around 2k, and I think just tried to, CC Xmithy. I also think Afro could have gone out a little bit earlier, right? But ultimately...
Well, Afromu has ult. He could probably, realistically, he could just go like this and follow them. Cast his ultimate and just follow.
Yeah.
That would be fine. Because then if he combos Ole, you can have Cody-san hop over the wall. Because you know no 8 is coming.
Yeah.
So I think that they play this really poorly. I think that as soon as this whole thing unfolds, right? You have Afromu go like this. You have him run to that blast cone to try to hit it. But you have him follow Ole and Impact. Or Ole Xmithy, right? You know Impact's here too.
I think honestly he might not even want to follow around. So if you go back to that part you just paused at, I think if right here he just starts walking towards them and zoning, then, or not too early, he doesn't want to get within fling range, but just, yes, like always stay within 500 range, right, of them. I think that's definitely the right call.
Right now.
Yeah, and Afro is just like, I'll be in the pit and knock him out when he comes over, but they forget about the Singe pick. It's just, people aren't prepared for like the little small mechanics that you don't encounter in either solo queue or scrims. So, but if 100 Thieves gets that Baron, their chance of winning goes back up to like 50%, right? Because Cody-san can start getting his items, and I really think that their team fight, if they get a good pick on someone with Skarner, and if they have Cody-san pop off, not get hit by like in a 0, there's always those two champions, Skarner and Trist, always have comeback mechanics. Which So whenever the game is like when I'm unless the team I'm playing against or preparing for against is King Zone, I understand that I try to look at things optimally, but I also try to look at like where will someone ultimately fuck up, right?
Where could they? Sure.
Yeah, where could they fuck up? So, but oh wait, can you go back a little bit? So, right here, they make the really good pick on Ole, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is something that a lot of NA teams do. They get Baron, they run back, and the other team has set up for vision already, and they get picked. Here they get the tower, but right here is really sad, right? Afro doesn't get his ult off until he's 183 HP.
Yeah.
It's a huge misplay, honestly. Another cool thing to note is that if Pobelter had any boots other than Merc Treads, he's dead there. What happens is the Ornult, the Brittle increases the knockup by 30%, but when you have the Merc Treads, that goes down to like 20%.
But it could have just cleansed it at any time.
No, but you can't cleanse.
Oh,
knockup and then
okay,
flash.
okay.
Yeah, you can QSS a knockup and flash out, but right, he lands at the very last second. His cleanse actually doesn't do anything. Afro's W is still connecting, so frame by frame, it's like his cleanse doesn't do anything there.
Okay, but then isn't the argument that Pobelter should just flash?
Right here.
He should flash before the Ornal
he
commits.
should flash.
Okay.
He should flash. Yeah, but people have played the game for like 8 years and they still. It's easy to forget, which I understand, but you can't cleanse a knockup and flash. You have to QSS and flash.
No, that's not what my thing.
Yeah, no,
you should just flash the ulti.
Yeah, for sure. But what ends up happening is Pobelter, gets the fortunate unintentional bait, and Afro just dies. So, Afro's ult goes off right after, or right as the Caitlyn auto is hitting, so it hits him for like 800 damage.
Did TL take another Drake? Yeah, they did. So bad.
Yeah. So I think 100Thieves shouldn't have gone for that as soon as Pobelter got out, right? Because this wasn't a good play by Liquid.
What?
Right? The individual players. So the whole concept of they got Baron, they walk mid, Ole gets picked, and 100Thieves gets the mid tower, right? If they just take that tier 1 and back off and set up vision, then they can wait out the last half of the Baron, and then like they play this whole game over again. Right here, I think 100Thieves shouldn't have gone for that. Just period.
Yeah,
right?
they should.
Maybe, yeah, if you do want to do the dive, then wait until the tier 2 with the Ornal. But here, again, Someday walks in and goes for the one-person Ornal.
Yeah, this is TL making really bad decisions. The Impact's not in position yet. Azir's getting blue. There's no rush to get vision. You have Baron minions. There's
I think that's the
absolutely
thing
no
to
rush.
emphasize for North American teams is that you have to be patient, whether you're the losing team or the winning team, right? Because 100Thieves gets impatient here too. This doesn't happen. 100Thieves' chances are still beneath 50% to win this game, but they have a chance. And one thing that I really don't like about, like when I see people watch this game state right here, they say, "Oh, the game's over," and or that they just move on. And again, TeamLiquid has this game locked in 90% at this point. But right here, it's not game over. Can you slow this down to like 1 time speed? Okay, so obviously they have the siege. I don't know how much of Baron they have, like 30 seconds left, right?
Yeah. 34.
Yeah. They're getting poked off, but they can just drop this, right? They don't have to really. They can just drop the inhibitor, and then TeamLiquid needs to recall and set up for the next Mountain Drake and the Baron. But right here, I think what people, all right, they didn't engage. But Liquid changed CC on Someday, like Impact flings him into a Caitlyn trap, and then he puts the goo on so he can't flash out, and he dies before he can use anything. It's actually really well played by Liquid. Granted, Someday shouldn't have walked up, but that's just something people don't expect, right? And this happens so fast. This happens within 30 seconds that people just say, "Oh, well, I guess the game was over." But the game wasn't over, right? If 100Thieves or if TSM or someone was 2k up on an enemy team with Baron pushing the bot side, it would not have gotten this playoff. I think Liquid knows, and I can point to 3 or 4 other games in playoffs where TeamLiquid takes a Baron before 30 minutes and wins the game within the 3.5 minutes that they have Baron. And that shouldn't be happening, and it won't happen against good teams internationally. But I think it does speak to TeamLiquid's strength when it comes to pushing their advantages and, like, capitalizing off people's mistakes.
I called TeamLiquid NAKT because that's what they are to me. They're NAKT. Lots of poor, overly aggressive macro plays backed by supreme team fight or superior team fighting and mechanics, and opponents not being good enough to understand certain lines. That's what I said in like weeks 1 and 2 and 3. Because there's a million optimizations that you can talk about in these games that are present. And I think that is the most important stuff to talk about if you're trying to get better. you don't talk about what is good or efficient against these level teams, because what is good and efficient against these level teams, like, for instance, we're talking about how 100 Thieves realistically can make plays against TL, because we know that TL will not play at the level where they're going to be impervious. But if you play with that mindset, then you will never take down the World Elite level teams.
Sure.
And you'll also never become a World Elite level team if you just constantly keep playing with that mindset. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you think about like the pick on Ole though, if 100 Thieves was against a Korean team, do you think they would have set up for that pick? Because do they think the support, like let's say this is Wolf or not Wolf?
Well,
Gorilla,
SKT,
right? Is he kinda just
KT,
walking?
Kingzone, KSV, they all give up inhibitor here. That's number
Yeah.
one. They all give it
Yeah.
up.
Sure.
There's a lot of other plays where you can acknowledge that they probably give it up. I'm not going to say that Korean teams don't make mistakes. Of course they do. KT has some of the worst macro out of a world level team that I've seen.
Yeah.
KSV, I said, if people go back into my VOD reviews, when everyone was saying that they were good and they were the world champions, you know, reigning world champions, etc., I said they looked terrible. Mm-hmm. I thought that their gameplay was lackluster. I thought there was nothing impressive. I thought they hadn't improved since Worlds. I didn't care about their standings inside of the LCK because it was very apparent just by how they moved around the map and coordinated as a team and team fought, and the decisions that they were making inside of the game was extremely poor. So I thought that as the split progressed, KSV would get worse. And it did. And that's not result-based. That was, you know, me making assertions that based off what was visible in the first few weeks. I thought SKT looked really, really terrible. I thought, you know, KT, I talked about it in the first weeks, I talked about it last summer, I talked about it in the spring. They have a tendency to make really, really poor mid-game and late-game decisions. And you have to wonder why. And they make a lot of win-more decisions. TeamLiquid, very similar to KT, they make a lot of win-more decisions. Sort of like the thing where Xmithy got caught out, you know, because Nade Shot told him to check his bank, and then Steve was like, do you remember who you're working for? So that happened. I can't remember when exactly it happened. Is it right here? Yeah, this.
What are you looking for?
This is needless.
Oh, yeah.
This is an example of a win-more play. They're looking for a pick, and it doesn't need to happen, because what we know is that if this game just goes another 5 minutes, or they're grouped, there is no universe where they can die. 100 Thieves can never win a straight-up team fight. They always have to win through smoke and mirrors. So when that's the case, it doesn't matter what TeamLiquid wants to do. Yes, if 100 Thieves had a different team composition, like a completely different team comp, like let's say, I don't know, let's say that they have, we'd have to go back many, many patches. Let's say they have a 1-3-1 comp, right? Singed is a little bit better than most at faring against 1-3-1s and stuff, right? But now TL's formation and how they're going to move around the map has now changed. Let's say that this is not Ryze, let's say it's Syndra, right? Let's say that that's not Tristana, let's say it's Jinx, or let's say that Tristana is Caitlyn and enemy team has Tristana. Well, that's actually really different, because now there's even more enhanced windows between 6 and, you know, 16 minutes or so, where 100 Thieves can actually get a lot of edges. In fact, 100 Thieves with Caitlyn here, if they're able to accelerate the early game, bust open bottom lane, unlock Ornn, who's going to have a better low economy than Singed, and they rotate up to top, they get to capitalize on the pressure on Herald. It's better for them. So every variable matters. But there's so often that teams don't ask themselves, okay, we came into this knowing that our win cons are A, B, and C. This is what we want to do. But the enemy team needs F to occur. So scratch A, scratch B, scratch C, fuck D. We're not going to do A, B, C, or D. We are just not going to allow F to happen, and we win. You don't need to strategize how to infiltrate an island if you can simply set up a ring of ships around it and prevent food from coming in. You don't need to. You don't need to find the weak defenses. You don't need to figure out how you're going to storm the beach. You don't need to figure out how you're going to get your ships unseen. You don't need to figure out what time are we going to attack. You don't need to check what's the weather. Maybe we fight better in rain or something. Maybe it's going to rain soon or something. You don't need to do any of that. Just stop the food from coming in. But there's so many teams that will do that. They will look for A. They will look for B. They'll look for C. They'll look for fucking D. You know, they'll ask themselves, okay, what's the weather? How are we going to break this island? And no one on this team thinks to themselves, guys, what if we just stop food from coming in? Well, then they starve. so many teams in every fucking region, and this is why I don't care about the humans, or the humanity side of this game. If champions can do it, they should practice doing that, because that's how you got better in StarCraft 1. You didn't try to figure out how to beat the current best player. The current best player is nowhere near what the best player can be in a few years. You wouldn't look back at Season 3 and Season 4 and say, wow, Faker's amazing. Faker in Season 3 and Season 4 would not even be a top 10 mid laner in the world right now. He wouldn't even be top 15, he probably wouldn't even be top 20. Right? You always chase perfection, you obtain excellence. So I get really frustrated when people talk about what teams want to do and how they should do it, rather than what does the enemy team need to occur and how does this team prevent that from happening. And because of the way the meta is right now, preventing the need is a lot easier than doing the wants.
I agree, for sure.
That makes sense.
And I think that the one thing I would add on to that, because I think you explained it all perfectly, is when you're just trying to prevent F, and you're not doing A, B, C, or even D, then I think a G magically appears, where 100Thieves, okay, you've prevented them from doing F, which was their optimal way of winning, and that's what they needed, but something else appears that they can, it's not as good as F, but it also gives you, it's something that you technically can substitute F for, and it's another win condition. So I think the important thing is every team needs to know when to just set the ships up around the island and make sure no food comes in. But the teams also need to know, right, if it's not just one island, if it's 2 or 3 islands, which islands do you attack and which resources do you prevent from coming in? Because like if you set up too large of a perimeter around 3 islands, then those 3 islands can work within each other, can develop resources, you know, and in the context, and to bring the analogy to League, you know, Tristana getting 6 items, like even some of the best teams in the world can't properly play a team fight against a Tristana, even if, right, you have the Azir, Sejuani, Braum, Caitlyn, right? Arguably the Ornn is better at, you know, a 40-minute team fight than a Singed. The Skarner can go for a pick if they're in a rush and they just like, yeah, and this is something we talked about before too, right? When you cut your losses and you're only defending your 3 inhib towers, right? There's a lot less space that you need to be accounted for. Meanwhile, TeamLiquid has to make sure that they have vision over the entire rest of the map. So there's always trade-offs, right? When you're ahead, League and Riot has designed League to be such that you can make a play as a team that's behind because of these comeback mechanics, because you just get passive gold, because the super minions crash in and kill your own minions and deny the enemy team gold when it's supposed to generate pressure. But if the team can't use that pressure effectively and they just decide to prevent F and they aren't going for the E and like, or the A, B, C, D, E and pushing in and taking those wins, right? Like if TeamLiquid backed off at that bot inhibitor, the game would have gone on a little bit longer.
Yes.
Right? And so I think it's really interesting. This is why I like League, right? This is why I like analyzing it, because there are always optimal decisions, but there are also always unique circumstances that if you are a good enough player, you can, this new, like it's not a preset game like in StarCraft where you have a 1v1, you know what that person can do to build up their win conditions. In League, when you have 10 individual actors, you can, if you see a weakness and you see that their support is playing up a little bit too far in the last 5 minutes of the game, and you switch up your usual decision making or you switch up your game plan, when normally you would want to pick off the mid laner or the AD carry, but instead you go for that specific player, I think that's where really high level play and players that can do that kind of stuff, that's where you get world champions. And I think,
yeah, of course,
you know, North America,
it takes, you know, people on the island to realize, oh shit, they set up a wall around us, right?
Yeah.
And then it takes the world level, elite level players to be like, okay, well, and rather than just sit here diddling our thumbs and being like, oh, well, there's a ring of ships around us and we can't get food, one guy is going to stand up and be like, hey, wait, they swap ships every 3 days.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna look for a pattern. How are they swapping the ships? And then
Yeah.
suddenly the attack, which is concealed information, which is Fog of War in League of Legends, suddenly becomes something that the Ring of Ship people can't know about, which is they are, getting ready for everything to attack or break open, a baton pass on ships. And because these people think and they're content with, oh, we have F, we win, they don't even consider F1, F2, F3. Okay? Like they don't
Yeah.
consider the variations, and so their ring of ships gets perforated. And then suddenly
Yeah.
the island people are back into the fight.
Yeah.
You can't, I agree with you, you can't just look at F and be like, okay, we have F, it's over. The same way that TL can't just look at getting bottom inhibitor is it's reinforcing F. Maybe before fucking there was helicopters, but now they have anti-air, So it's just making sure that everything is sound. Like, if TL gets bottom inhibitor, it changes absolutely nothing with how they should play the map. Almost.
Yeah.
Now, some days locked up in bottom lane, they can have, that 4 people here, and they can have Sin shove in mid or something, and you go for the Baron. And you get Somedays teleport out, you back up off the Baron. Now, Someday doesn't have teleport. Now it's all over.
Yeah.
That's what
And
you do.
I think the reason it works for TeamLiquid is they go in with the intention not just to take the objective, but they know that if they get a pick, the enemy team will collapse and they can end the game right there.
Sure.
And I think that's more difficult than it sounds. And a lot of people don't realize how much preparation and how much strategy was involved in TeamLiquid ending right there, right? Because I haven't seen anyone else talk about the fact that they killed Someday 100-0. And it's not just because they have Azir Caitlyn, right? It's because they used their 3 CCs or whatever and instantly took down Someday. It's because Pobelter was looking specific. He knew in his mind that he needs to Shurima shuffle Tristana. And that's really easy for me to say, like watching this, like, oh, Cody should never walk past a certain point. He should never walk within 1,000 range of Azir when he doesn't have flash. But it's during the game, both for Cody and for Pobelter, it requires so much focus for them to actually keep that simple interaction between these two champions in mind. So, yeah, I think that's what I like focusing on, and that's what I am able to. I think that's what I'm best at analyzing, I guess. Yeah.
All
So we can move on to the
Game
next
2?
game, though.
Okay, let me end this recording. Alright, let me take a bathroom break. You can too.
Sure.
I'm gonna go to the
Sure.
bathroom and stuff. I will BRB.
Cool.
Game 2. Let me... Okay, BRB.
Yo, LS is still in the bathroom probably, but yeah, I will try to get to my points faster. But I have a lot of confidence that when I do make a point, it's because I have specific evidence and reasoning to support that point. I do think that I complete my sentences though, so some of that criticism is kind of bullshit. But yeah, I've never really talked about myself, but honestly, right, like I've had the same computer for 5-6 years. It's a MacBook. And it doesn't even charge anymore. The battery sucks. So Ellis first contacted me because he liked my content, and really, I'm a college student. I'm a third year, and I'm really excited for this summer because for the first time ever, I'll be able to play League and analyze League only, right? Like in the past, I've been like right now I spend 50 hours a day going to classes and studying economics at University of Chicago, right? It is my full-time job, and League is something that I do on the side. So it's not just micro mistakes in fights, it's also micro mistakes come about when you don't have a clear game plan of how to fight this specific team fight. Oh, 50 hours a day? 50 hours a week, my bad. God. Yo, I would love to get sponsored by a PC manufacturer because my computer can't even watch Twitch or YouTube videos without getting fucked, but yeah, this season I've only played 30 games of League, but I'm like 80% win rate, low diamond, so I just don't have time to grind solo queue.
Back, I have water. Alright. Hello?
Hello.
Hey, are you talking on the chat or no?
Oh yeah, I was
you are?
just
Okay.
conversing.
Okay. Alright. So, close that. So same thing as last time. We'll do the same intro, and then we'll start, okay?
Cool.
Yeah, okay. Give me 1 sec. Let me make sure this is set text too. Okay. Alright. Hey everyone, it's LS, and this is the TeamLiquid versus 100 Thieves Game 2 playoff match of the NALCS Spring Split 2018 Finals. Joined today by CroissantLoL. You can find out more about him in the description below here on YouTube. He is an analyst in the Western region that I have spoken highly of since he's basically come onto the scene with his initial Reddit post that some of you guys might remember from a long time ago. But here we go. We're going to get into TeamLiquid versus 100 Thieves. As always, I'm not too vocal about pick bans right now in terms of order because I was gone for a little while. So Croissant here is going to talk more so about it, and then I'll just talk about team compositions and my opinions on what I think that it means.
GP ban, blue side, same as last game, except this time it's Liquid banning it out. 100 Thieves goes for the Swain ban. Again, it's necessary on red side, at least in NA. Or Echo Fox did something interesting where they left Swain up, and then they instantly picked on red side Cassio and Camille, which is a strategy that I really like, and that I've this is like my first intuition for how do I beat Swain if I am going to leave it up, and that's how, right? I picked two lanes that really have pressure on the Swain, and is also good in the team fight and late game. Anyway, Liquid is looking to pinch the 80 carry pool. They want to first pick the Trundle. Last game, they early picked the Caitlyn on red side, but they clearly think that the Trundle is more valuable than the Caitlyn first pick. They ban Xayah, which surprisingly was not that high priority of the series, Xayah and Rakan. And the Olaf ban is... Okay, so can you pause real quick, actually?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Sorry,
so, this is one thing that I really, really dislike about the Uh, Olaf ban, 100 Thieves. Okay, Xmithy didn't play Olaf for the last 12 or 15 games of the season, and I know he can play it, right? But on 100 Thieves side, I know Meteos can play Olaf, Skarner, Trundle, and Sodrani, which is the same champ pool that Xmithy has, but they're champs that Meteos is definitely better on, and I think that Xmithy's highest priority jungler has been Trundle during this whole playoffs. And so if you're going to ban Olaf, then you have to have some sort of answer for the Trundle, right? Or you have to think that it's not that valuable. And this is where your knowledge becomes guesswork, because you have to guess 100 Thieves scrimmed against Trundle, they felt like they could deal with it, or they tried to play with themselves and they didn't feel like they were strong enough. Because if you don't ban the Olaf, then what are TeamLiquid's options? They either pick the Trundle first pick still, and you get a good pick, Olaf, or if you don't think that matchup is better than the Skarner into the Trundle, and you still go for the Skarner, then why are you banning Olaf, right? The reason they ban Olaf has to be because they think Liquid will pick Olaf first, which means that, okay, at that point, I can pick the Trundle into the Olaf, which is how Trundle first emerged in the European LCS. So I think this whole thing where they ban Olaf and then don't have an answer for the Trundle is really bad, because they could save a ban and you know use it on the Azir here. So I guess that is just my that's my main problem with the bans. But let's see how the rest of the team unfolds.
All right. Well, before we get into the rest of it, I just have to point out that I don't understand why Azir isn't just getting snatched up really fast. It's my belief, even though I don't know a lot, that Talia, Azir, Swain are the big three. And because Azir, interestingly enough, is so flexible right now as a champion, it's not like you need Azir comps anymore. I don't get why it's not being prioritized immediately. That just seems like a weakness to me. Braum and Skarner right off the bat, obviously heavy engage options. Braum can obviously still flex defensibility, but that's just my immediate reaction so far.
Yeah, for sure, I agree. And I think the reason the 100 Thieves does that is, so a lot of people don't give teams the benefit of the doubt, or players the benefit of the doubt, right? That's what the community does. If they see Azir get picked 3 times by Liquid, and they think, oh, Ryu can't play Azir. But whether or not Ryu can definitely play Azir, right? If you look at how the Echo Fox TeamLiquid series went down, Liquid, Phoenix played Ryze 4 games in a row, right? And he had score lines where he was like 1-6-5 or some shit. And Pobelter brought out the Cassiopeia against it every game. Azir was available, and Phoenix didn't even pick the Azir, even though that's what he's known for. That's his signature champ, right? You fast forward to the 3rd place match, and Echo Fox wins the fastest 3-0 in LCS history, probably in any playoffs best of 5 matchup. And he never picks Ryze. I think he picked Cassiopeia, Azir, and Talia or something, right? And so I think, and everyone was saying, oh, Phoenix can only play Ryze or something like that, but it really is a matter of what kind of scrimming did they do and what kind of results did they see. And like for Echo Fox, it was Ryze is stronger than every other champion, and that's what we're going to go with. And so I think the debate shouldn't be, can this person can't play the champion. It should be more about, all right, are we going to does the coach trust the preparation that they've built coming into this series, or do they think that they need to adapt and just pick up the Azir even though they're not good enough on it, right? So I think that, and people are saying that Ryu just doesn't play Azir in general, which, I mean, I think that's true, but because Ryu's champion pool has always been Ryze, Talia, Corki, Orianna, and stuff. But I think it's telling that Ryu doesn't go for a pick like, I don't know. We've seen a lot of Vel'Koz come out against Azir, and I think Ryu is the type of player where, I mean, I believe in his mechanics. I think that if a coach really pushes him to develop pocket picks against these champions, and have those things in his pool and his arsenal, it's something he's capable of. It's not that he can't. Um, he might not be mechanically good on Azir, but every pro player can play Vel'Koz. So I just wish that they put more focus on that.
Wait, every pro can play Vel'Koz?
Oh, like you have to understand, but I think that if I sat down with any pro mid laner in LCK or NALCS even, that I could teach them to play Vel'Koz at a decent level, right? A level that wouldn't be a liability on stage and would give them a slight winning matchup in the team fights, or in the definitely in the team fights, because his laning phase isn't that great, but he just shoves in as Azir does. But
Okay.
yeah, I think
yeah.
a lot of the pros just like basically if I'm a coach and I'm trying to get my player to play something new, then I'll put them into a scrim. I'll say, hey, try this out. But it has to be more than that. It has to be, try this out. But if you find yourself getting hard dicked on by an Olaf ganking you at level 2 or level 3, that doesn't mean the pick is bad. That means you play around it, right? That means you have to know that Vel'Koz always plays a team fight differently than any of the standard mid laners, because all the standard mid laners, even Cassiopeia, champions that don't have dashes like Ryze, those champions have mobility even though they don't have dashes. But there's a reason that Vel'Koz succeeds statistically against these champions, and it means that he is more vulnerable towards coordinated dives and coordinated picks, but he has tools that these champions don't even come close to in terms of AoE damage, like artillery, long range spells, and I think that these picks are never well utilized because they just try it and then they see that they're losing, and I think that my main point is just that you have to push to get these picks to work, and it may not be a useful investment of time for some players, but for a lot of teams it's definitely something they should try and consider.
The Vel'Koz thing is interesting because Vel'Koz is a commander champion, in the sense that he is a protect the king in a way. He is much like the old Azir, that you built comps around him, whereas Azir now is more flexible, sort of like Kog'Maw, protect the Cog. Although Cog later went on to become flexible and able to be placed into any team basically. I think Vel'Koz is one of the hardest I actually think he is the hardest champion in the game if you're going to pilot him at 100% or near 100%. I think he's harder than Azir. Xerath, Lux, these champions do what he does, but he does it a little bit better, but at a cost that it's more difficult.
Definitely.
I think. But yeah, I mean, you have to wonder how much practice does 100Thieves actually have coming into this, and do they want to? I mean, there's other champions that are okay against Kassadin. Azir. Kassadin being one of them. Zed, Vel'Koz is okay. Talia is also fine. Talia historically was the Azir killer. When she rose to power, she rose to power in the height of the two king meta, Victor Azir. They stood alone at the top. And she came out of nowhere, and she basically answered them both, and that was a really, really big shift at that point in time. So there's champions I'm expecting to see, but I'm not seeing it. And then obviously you have to wonder exactly, what champions can the person actually play, which I think you like to talk about that a lot more than I do. I get frustrated when I have to talk about it. And it's really sad when you do have to talk about it, because at the professional level, you should be able to bring up champions to par with other,
Sure.
So, all right, let's jump in. Tristana, I was about to say, if you pick Tristana, this is a nightmare. Because Caitlyn's off the table, Xayah's off the table, and then if you're 100Thieves, again, this has nothing to do with 100Thieves or TeamLiquid. I'm just saying, like, in general, if you are this team, if you're Team Blue, Team Red, what do you realistically pick here? Do you pick Jinx? No, you don't pick Jinx. Do you pick Ezreal? Well, now Ezreal's on the clock. And the reason that Ezreal's on the clock is because you have two champions that are now going to fall off the longer that the game goes on versus two champions that will continue to ramp. Okay, now if you pick Ezreal, what are you going to end up picking in mid and top lane? All right, so now do you pick Lucian? No, you don't pick Lucian. That doesn't make any sense either. So what realistically ends up being, Kai'Sa's not enabled for this, is she? I mean, you're not going to pick Kai'Sa anyway.
No, she's not here.
But what do you end up picking? I feel like it's just really, really ugly.
Well, I think you have to pick the mid lane, as you said. Like, there's one answer here that Ryu can play, and it is...
Well, do you have to pick mid here? Because in theory, Kassadin open, right?
Yeah.
Talia's open. Kassadin is open. Vel'Koz in theory is open. So these three are all open, which means that these can't be banned away. It's just not possible. But then you get forced into the other. So there needs to be more options. So I guess, in theory, yes, you can pick mid lane here, but then you run the gambit of them pinching the ADC pool even more. If you're TL right now, you can just pinch ADC. You ban Varus, and you ban Jhin.
Yeah, that's actually what I wanted to see them do. I think they end up banning only the Varus and not the Jhin. Because Jhin... The problem with Jhin, I think it's open, and the reason 100 Thieves doesn't go for it is because it does shit to Trundle, unless you get really ahead. Ezreal gets outskilled, but at least he has, you know, Bork. That's what he goes for. He can, like, peel himself. So, I think that Liquid should have... Let's see what they ban. But the reason they do have to ban Talia, it's like, when we're doing analysis, yeah, we want to hide the name tags, but
Tarek
in the draft...
sense. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Tarek doesn't make any sense to me. That was a big thing that I wanted to point out. But yeah, they go for the Cho'Gath ban again. Because they just think it's Sunday's strongest pick, honestly.
Varus, Jhin is, I'm pretty sure, the absolute two best. Oh, well, he picks Ezreal anyway.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So
they have a lot of poke. They have Talia and they have Ezreal, so they can definitely get some... Yeah, they can definitely poke to victory. TeamLiquid responds with Sion.
Their strongest top tank blind pick right now.
And Morg, yep. I think that the Tarek should have probably been a Morgana.
Yeah. Or if you're not even going to go for this support, then you should just ban, like...
And then you pick one.
Yeah.
It's like, why? I don't understand. Now, one of the things is that you're on red side this time, so 131 isn't as strong. If you do pick Fiora here, she is a time bomb. I think you can pick Fiora into Sion here. And with Talia and Ezreal, you can try to poke at them from behind Baron, but then the question is okay, why do you now have Skarner? Skarner should be something else.
What do you think about Camille versus Fiora for 100 Thieves?
What do you mean? Well, TL picked top first.
Yeah, so TL picks top first, and
they go Camille?
Camille or Fiora. Do you think Fiora is just strictly better as the last pick there for 100 Thieves?
Because TL picks Sion, yes. I think Fiora is the best. By far, she's the best.
Yeah. Because
TL is immobile, in a sense.
Yeah.
They're slow and they're sluggish. They're on blue side, which means that Azir and Tristana are always going to be in close proximity to the Baron once you start entertaining like 22 to 27 minutes.
Yeah.
And that means that Sion's in bottom lane alone against a Fiora, which there's not likely going to be any neutral objectives up because we're assuming that Dragon's going to be off the map. So Fiora's a ticking time bomb. Talia and Ezreal can stall away the Baron until like 3 items, 4 items, etc. At that point, it starts to get a little bit more difficult. The problem then occurs that why do you have Skarner? So let's say that this is not Skarner. Let's say that this is Azir. And then let's say that TL gets Talia. This is actually better if you mix everything else up. I think that the draft here is weak yet again. Yes. Because just like in game number 1, you have... Well, I think 100 Thieves is better in this game because you think about the initial openings, right? Skarner can start on his blue if he wants to, and then if he does blue and he goes into his red side, he can then potentially stand by top mid. Because Talia has the knockback and stuff. So because Skarner can now stand by top mid, Impact and Pobelter are slightly under pressure. He can then also get some intel on Xmithy's left side jungle, etc. Depending on where Xmithy starts, can Xmithy actually go down into bottom lane? Well, it requires Cody Sun or Aframo to mess up. Can he actually go into mid lane? No, not against Ryu. So Xmithy should actually be acknowledging that his job, very similar in game number 1, is counter gank and match gank. Just because of the dynamics of all these 2v2s. Take these two, you take these two, you take these two, take these two, right? And then you take this 2.5 versus this 2.5, and what it likely means. Skarner has a better approach on red side than Skarner has on blue side, just because of the way that Skarner can approach the lane. And then it better ties in with clearing and then ultimates coming back up. So also, because of Ezreal and Braum being on red side, they naturally have the defensive angle, right? Even if they don't need to take it, but they have that option available to them. So Dragon Control is going to be really, really important. Skarner has options at level 3, and then again at level 5, and then obviously at level 6 for top lane. And then Skarner has options in mid lane. But I think that once it hits first item, TL takes over ever so slightly, and then 100 Thieves bounces back with like 1.5 items because of the way that Ezreal works. And then 100 Thieves is on a little bit of a clock until 3 items, and then TeamLiquid wins every single item after that. And this is why I think Fiora is a really, really important pick.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
Alright, let's go into the game.
Oh my god, what are you drinking?
Water. Gotta stay hydrated. Hydrated bot in Twitch chat tells me.
I drink water out of a bowl.
Do you really?
Yeah, I don't have a water bottle. Or cups.
I was pretty weird. When I was a kid, I was really, really young, and I had a dog who used to drink water out of the bowl, obviously like dogs do. So then I decided that I wanted to be friendly with the dog, or family dog, so I put a bowl on the floor and I drank it out of the bowl too, like a fucking idiot. Demonetized, by the way. You baited me into that.
Do you actually get demonetized for
No,
saying fucking?
no.
Or is it
Oh,
because you talked about
thanks a
yourself
lot.
role-playing as an animal?
Either one. I was like 3 years old or like 4 years old.
I just have an image of a child.
God bless.
Wait, are they paused? What the fuck's happening?
I don't know what's going on.
I do not remember this. I thought I wasn't going to be able to watch this series, but it ended up being within 2 hours. So. Nice.
Let's see how the
I don't know if
openings
this
start.
is... Yeah.
Oh, Mountain Drake. That's so big. If 100 Thieves had, I mean, that's sort of like result based in a way, but if 100 Thieves had Fiora and they rolled Mountain and they got it, oh my god. The nuts.
It's what I don't understand, right? Someday used to be known as the carry player in Korea, and come to NA, he just... I don't think it's the coach saying you're not going to play Fiora or this champion. I feel like they're just not getting results with it, so they don't play it. Oh, this is really sad. So whenever level 1 gets really fucked up, people just say like go next, or like there's nothing to really analyze here. But here you can, I think, analyzing this is the most important part of this game.
I think it's
Right.
really, really valuable too.
I think you think, okay, so just looking at the champions, right? When you talk about invades or early level 1s, Ezreal's the strongest AD carry in the game. Probably for the level 1. Then you have
I think it's arguable between Jhin.
yeah, Jhin with all the AoE
Jhin,
and the 4th shot.
Yeah, Jhin with
Yeah.
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 I
But at the
think,
very least,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Yeah, at the very least, he has a lot of pressure at this game. Level 1.
Kallista's up there too.
Yeah, true. And then Braum, really strong. Morgana's better at the pick and like the 5-man, walk into a brush with the binding. But here they shouldn't get pushed off the red. I think that's the big thing, right? If they get the Spire and if they just stayed on the red and didn't let it reset, then they could have taken it, I think. Especially because Ryu has priority, right? He's shoving in Pobelter and roaming first. But they back off of this red. And so if you go up to even before that, right, when they're first starting it at like 150.
Right here?
Yeah,
At 150?
right there when it resets. So if they just stay on it right here, and they finish it, I think Meteos can just tank it. But they get it reset, right? I think they just need to hit the red buff, get out.
The problem, the dilemma is that if you lose the red buff smite fight, right?
Yeah.
If Scion gets called down via teleport,
Yeah.
Skarner has a really hard time keeping up now.
Yeah.
I think the game is lost, actually, if they lose Red Smite. I think
So you
that
think they leave?
I think that you have to just leave after you failed to find anything. I think if like they can get a hit. What does Connor even open? It doesn't even show me. Like there. If they can get some sort of a summoner, things go a little bit better. But they whiff. And if that binding just hit, things get even worse. And that's a pretty reasonable thing. You can assume that a binding would hit. So Talia has the first way to come down, but then red resets. So if Azir just didn't follow, and then Azir stayed for the wave and gets level 2, now Ryu it has to go like this. And now, even if you get the red buff, it doesn't matter. It's not enough value. Your mid laner is going to be in a nightmare situation. These are like really, really ugly spots.
Sure.
I think.
Yeah, they definitely need to.
I come from Korean solo queue. This is usual to me. These invades. This is every game.
Oh my god. People in NA are too scared. They just...
Resets, and now you're too committed. Like if you stay any longer. Things are just really ugly. Like right here. Pull Belter, what? He doesn't get level 2. Oh, he gets it as Ryu gets back there. I don't exactly see what's going on up there. Like, see, he follows. He shouldn't follow. You can see the thing. What is this called? Rage or...
Patience.
Patience? Okay. You can see the patience bar and know that it's going to reset. So just let Azir get level 2, and then good luck in esports, Ryu.
Yeah. And then it gets so much worse.
Yep. Things can just get really, really bad. This is fantastic for TeamLiquid.
The only good thing about this is that Cody gets a slight advantage on double lift, or yeah. He's still staying on the level 1W. But look, Xmithy finished his first camp, and Meteos is still on his way to red.
Can he even...
Ryu gets an early back.
Okay.
And Ryu is such a team player here. I would never do this. He probably loses 2 CS, 2-3 CS there.
That's kind of big too.
Yeah. But anyway, so
I think it would just be better for Meteos to maybe he goes straight to his red because he anticipates that Xmithy's gonna run to his red, and if that happens, things get really, really bad.
Yeah.
Really quickly. But I think it's probably just safer to do wolves because you get level 2. And you still have the Spire there, so I don't know why he didn't just do that.
Yeah, I think if someday could have pushed out Impact, I don't know what that laning matchup is going like, but if he could push out and just get a ward on it, and Meteos just does wolves, blue, then red, probably better.
100Thieves is really far behind. Ryu comes...
Oh, Cody got an early back to get a tier, by the way.
Yep. Nice little poke.
So here...
Yeah, it's over. This is now score versus blank. So here, all that you have to do is you acknowledge scale's better, doesn't matter. Right? This doesn't matter. All you have to do is chuck test to Skarna now. So chuck testa is like, you run into his jungle, you get wards, you see him, good. Run over here, you see him again, good. No jungler gets to farm, and it's good. Your team wins. Because with how far behind Ryu is, and even though Cody's son got the early back for tier, it's still not manageable. If you just force 1v1 mid, 2v2 bot, and 1v1 top, TL wins 100% of the time. Trundle is not obligated to gank anymore. He's not obligated to create any pressure. He doesn't need to do anything. They just win the game by doing nothing.
This is a really interesting gank, too.
This is interesting. I like this. This is cute.
Yeah. Because they spotted Xmithy in the bot side jungle, but they don't expect him to wrap all the way around. So, but that could have been a little better, though. They could have killed Cody there. Ole, if he held onto the bind, it would have been a free kill.
I like that. The TP, not bad.
Yeah. Right here, this is pretty unfortunate too for Meteos. I think, yeah, Impact uses his Dematerializer to get level 6. I don't know if he actually gets his ult off though. So he kills the minion. Yeah, he kills the melee to get level 6, and then Meteos doesn't flash the Q, so he just dies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they could have gone better for both sides if Impact pathed differently, but
TL ends up getting a pretty big lead from this.
yeah.
TL gets a really, really, really big lead. And the other problem is it looks like the minion RNG is in TL's favor. Like the wave went into Sion's turret, and now Sion's gonna get all that XP. Although it does look like Impact's still down a level. He just cleared the wave and he's still 6, so I don't know what's going on up there.
Yeah.
Talia's trying to come down, gets a Spire. Really fighting for Spires here.
Yeah. I don't know who's placing these river wards from TL, but they are just spotting Ryu anytime he wants to try to edge over. Might be Ole.
It's really, really, really rough. Blue's coming up, they ping it. And it looks like Meteos wants to go steal it, but yeah, now they know that they're maybe trying to steal it. Xmithy wards it. And now maybe this is where they try to... So this is one of the things that can actually happen with blue buff handoffs, right? They go for the blue buff handoff, you can respond if your bottom lane has control with trying to capture dragon. If you fail, though, you can lose the game. You can see 100Thieves does not have control, so they're just going to hand off the blue to Talia. And this isn't a game state that they would want to be in. Ideally, the game state would have been even. Ideally, if 100Thieves just started normally, the blue comes up before Azir's. So you return to the lane with the blue buff on Ryu. Ryu expends all of his mana to shove it in. Pobelter has to respond using a lot of his mana to eat it. Then Xmithy goes onto the left-hand side of the map. Both top laners don't have teleport. You get the blue handoff, bottom lane is shoving, Talia moves down with Skarner, and then Skarner's red buff would be up, but that doesn't matter. So then everyone moves down, they look to make a play against bot. If they can't, they capture dragon, and then Xmithy responds with taking Meteos' red. That's all that would have to happen. So you trade red for Mountain Drake. And Ryu's dead, I assume. Oh.
Yep.
Rips right off
So
that wall.
There, Pobelter waited for Ryu to flash and then got him with the ult, so that was a good scoop. And then, I'm not sure if Ryu could have ulted out earlier or at a different angle to try and get him out, but because I don't know exactly how long the ult takes to activate. But right here, let's say he angles it towards upwards and it like blocks the Sion ult, then there's a good chance that he can just walk out on the right side with Skarner.
I mean, if he angled it right here, I think he runs into Sion.
Yeah, but
Right.
I think, I
think if he yeah, go ahead.
if he could do a little earlier and then hop off on the right side, the wall still stays up and then Sion crashes into it, right? So, but that's really tricky because you don't know how fast the Sion ult's coming in and stuff.
Mountain Drake goes down. That's super, super, super big with the Azir. Yeah. It opens up so many more Baron possibilities that you shouldn't be able to have. And it looks like another Mountain Drake is being RNG'd. So now we're looking at like 17-minute to 18-minute second Mountain Drake fight. And if 100Thieves loses that, it just becomes such a nightmare for them to stay inside of the game. Because now 20-minute Baron is actually a very real thing. And it doesn't even matter. Like, we talked about Talia and Ezreal being able to stall, but the speed at which they're going to shred Baron if TL has double Mountain Drake is just going to be so quick. It's going to be very, very difficult to play around. And so now, with that being said, I mean, all they have to do is wait for it. And instead, they're looking to make plays. And it's sort of like, I talked about this in the last VOD. Win more stuff. They end up killing, going 1-for-1. Still benefits TeamLiquid more than it benefits 100Thieves.
Yep, and it shouldn't have been a 1-for-1 after Pobelter went in. like Meteos, if he reacted fast enough, could have just instantly ulted him. Right. Let's see. So he ults because he thinks Meteos is gonna flash, but right there he just grabs him. Pobelter's dead. But instead he has to flash over the pillar because he waits. He hesitates. Right there. Yeah.
Alt. Yeah, doesn't have to be 1-for-1.
Yep. So these are just unfortunate trades every time.
Fast forward. Right now, TL is still pretty okay. They move to make an Ornn play. Ornn doesn't have teleport. Everything's fine right now for TeamLiquid. As long as they understand to time their back timers, like 50 seconds or a minute before the dragon reses, so they have priority and control of the lanes. They can get some sort of vision control. They don't actually necessarily need vision of river. Coming down here, and this is working because they know about Skarner. Yeah, they know about Skarner. Impact rotates down to catch the wave. I don't even know how this is allowed to work. Jeez. What?
So the way it works is someday comes mid to go for this play. This is another one of those walk into the lane, try to land an ordinal onto the Azir, and it doesn't. Right? And so then someday has to go back up top, and this time Impact goes mid to hold the wave and pressure Ryu, and Pobelter just roams bot with Xmithy. So Liquid's just better at communicating what place to go for. Because if Ornn just held mid and then Taliyah went bot, then maybe you get something done with the Taliyah ult. But yeah.
Let's look at something. Ornn goes back up to top here. You can't have Ornn stay mid. I think the issue is that Skarner gets spotted. That's realistically the problem here. Like mid lane, enemy mid has priority, and Sion moved down rather than doing anything else. So he moves down, he gets vision on Skarner, and then because they know about that, they make the play against bottom because they know no teleport on Sunday, and then Ryu, because he doesn't have priority in mid, it's going to be too late to respond with Weaver's Wall.
Sure.
The problem then arises when, well, whose fault is it? Because Someday wants to go back up to top to catch the wave and then shove one more wave. So he's looking at trying to get something like 9 CS on average, right? So he's going to get 9 CS, and he really wants to get that, and then he wants to shove the wave back in. But is that actually a necessity at this point in time? That's a question that you have to ask, right? And then with Skarner moving immediately into his red, it opens up the play against bot lane. So then Blue's coming up in like 40 seconds, and they have no way of doing this. This is sort of just like a very forked position, and they even see Sion staying around mid lane. That should probably give it away, and Cody Sun and Afro should probably just be backing up. I think Skarner going for red is just really bad, because there's no reason to go for red. It gives you XP, it gives you red buff, but besides that, it's not doing anything. You're not losing it. You know, it's not like Impact's gonna go and steal it. It's not like Azir. You saw Azir, which direction it was moving.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no urgency. You see them ping missing like once, and then they're pinging the Sion as if the Sion's the one that's gonna go fuck the bot lane.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Ornn's still in the top lane. And now TL gets the turret, which that's not good. Shove the wave in. Now this is going to cause a bounce back, and the bounce back is going to occur right around when the dragon's going to be coming up. This game is looking pretty over. They're rotating double lift up to top lane, which I think this is pretty silly. All that you have to do here is, well, actually, no, you don't even need to. See that wave? Right? Oh wait, double lift's not walking with the wave. Never mind. So you come up to this wave, you hit a few of the minions, and then you just run straight down to dragon. And that'll cause a slow push. No one's getting any gold, but that's okay, because it's not about TeamLiquid getting the gold, because their gold is more efficient than the opponent's. We talked about this in the last VOD. You know, if TL gets $1,000, and 100 Thieves gets $1,000, their $1,000 is, I don't know, Australian currency, right? So it's not worth as much. And that's pretty much it. I think that Mountain Drake number 2 should be the absolute highest priority. Now, if Double Lift just shoves and then comes down into mid, that's fine. He's not even doing that. This is like the KT level stuff that's going on. I feel like top enemy tier 1 is guaranteed to go down regardless. I think the order on this side of the map is to get Rift Herald and then try to use the Rift Herald to penetrate the Talia mid tier 1 turret. Oh, can you see my screen? Oh no, you can't. Okay.
No.
Okay. So I think that's realistically the only argument. Now, if you see 100 Thieves are actually in a pretty okay position for warding, right? And if we let 30 seconds pass, let's say that 100 Thieves never gives up pressure on mid lane. Now, TL, what do you do with your Herald? Do you bring it top lane and cast it and get this and this? Okay, but this is just a win more. Like it gets you gold, someone's forced to respond to it, otherwise it'll probably go on and do a little bit of damage to this. But realistically, 100 Thieves could probably get Mountain Drake. Then the question becomes, is that something that you want them having for any reason whatsoever? It's probably not going to be the end of the world because of how far ahead TL is right now, but is it something that you needed to even let occur? And now it looks like they think that, okay, well, we can do everything that we just did and then still get to Mountain Drake because of how far ahead we are. But I don't think that's actually something that 100 Thieves needs to let happen. Like, if they just never let Xmithy walk back into mid like this, if they never let them get into this position, they can probably just burst down Mountain, surrender this, and surrender that. And then the question becomes, is that more valuable than... is denying the second Mountain Drake more valuable than the gold that you give them? And I think yes, just because of the Azir and Tristana. So I think that it's an L that you have to take, even though I can see arguments being made that, oh, we get Rift Herald, we get a turret, but I think on the surface it's all just win more stuff. I think that they get the Mountain Drake in this game anyway, but I don't think that it should have been able to be achieved if 100 Thieves recognized the trade-offs. I just don't see a universe in which they win now. I'm okay saying game is over here. Or I would be content doing it, or saying it. Like if I was like casting or something, I think the game's over. Yeah. Because now you think about the tempo resets. How does 100 Thieves ever get bottom tier 1? They're not going to. Sion doesn't matter. Orin doesn't matter anymore. Azir is online. Tristan is online. Ezreal and Talia never made use of anything because they never could. They were always behind in tempo. They're down 2 Mountain Drakes. They're about to lose their mid tier 1. Rift Herald still exists for TeamLiquid. It's all, I think game is over. We can talk about, like, what does 100 Thieves do to win, but I would always approach it from the angle of how much of an error does TL have to make for 100 Thieves to win? Because I really feel like games do get like this. It should be unlosable situations, and then when you see a team come back from a spot like this, it is really legendary. But it's more so legendary when it's against an extremely high-level team because you don't expect it to happen. It was sort of like that. What was it? Was it Kingzone against SKT? Like a hero comeback, or was it KS? I can't even remember who it was.
Was it recently?
No. Long ago.
Probably KS. Probably Samsung. But yeah, they go for the pick on Xmithy here. It's not bad, but this is just crazy. Like... Pobelter shuts him down again.
The thing is you'll never get a clean pick anymore. It will never reach that point. And a third Mountain Drake is coming. So the problem is TeamLiquid can sit here with Azir and Tristana. As long as they get tempo going in, which it is going down here, right? If they have mid priority, you shove in mid, you clear out all the vision around here, you start the Baron. You just start it. And it demands either a teleport or it demands an Ornn ultimate, and then you back off the Baron. And then rinse, wash, repeat, and eventually you'll get the Baron. Worst case scenario is Ezreal's a god and Talia's a god, and they hit some insane poke, and then you have to fight TeamLiquid at the third dragon. But I think that there's no universe which this team composition can come back from. This kind of a deficit.
I'd agree. So, we could... Yeah, this game's almost over too, but...
This is the point where I like to rail KT. So let's see. Hold on, let me see what they do with the Baron. Oh wow, caught him over the wall, huh?
Yeah, if he didn't flash, he wouldn't have gotten Cody there.
I'll go in mid. Sion's bottom. Rift Herald up mid. Okay.
Meteos is on the side, but he can't look for anything.
Yeah, he can't do anything.
Especially with the tower.
Yeah, Sion doing what he's doing. Come down into bottom. Can Ornn break all of Talia's wall, or just a part?
I don't know if Ornn can. I don't know if he breaks walls. Oh, you mean with his like?
Yeah, his charge
his
thingy.
little pillar.
No,
Yeah,
no,
he
no,
can't
no.
break all of.
Wait, what?
Oh,
He
his
breaks
charge
walls?
forward.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
his headbutt breaks walls.
Really?
Yeah. No, obviously
like-
Talia's his own teammate, but can it break a wall? Can it break the entire wall, or does it just break a portion? Ornn's headbutt breaks walls. Don't worry if you didn't know this. I'm coach, by the way, and I don't know a lot of things about League because it's not important.
Yeah. No, like Ornn is from a time that I've never actually laned against an Ornn or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
If Ornn collides with terrain while charging, he creates a shockwave that deals the same. Enemies, wait, what? Terrain created by enemy champions count as terrain, and if caught in the shockwave, will be destroyed. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So it's only enemy champions.
Yeah, enemy.
Yeah. Probably only just the size of him. Then.
Yeah, and they'll push on. They'll get this last. I mean, okay, well, 100Thieves can't defend anyway. Now do they go for the end, or do they captain? Okay, great. They recall. That's great. Yep, Pobelter can go and solo or Dragon. Wait, what? Just solo it. What? It doesn't matter in the end, you know?
Yeah.
But they should just pick it up really quick. That would be ideal.
Yeah.
So, do they pick it up? They do pick it up. F3 Mountain, Ocean spawning next. And now all that they have to do is 140 into 005, or is it 500? It doesn't even matter though, Skarner just died. It doesn't really. They could... One of their players could DC and they could win. So...
Yep.
This is... Okay, so that's it for this game. So, I don't know. 100 Thieves, really, really weird drafts on the surface. I feel like they're losing the drafts really hard. Do I think that it's why they're necessarily losing the game? No, I don't think it's entirely why they're losing the games. Although the drafts certainly don't help. Like last game, I called it over at 6.5 minutes, and that's because I think that they mismanaged the first 6 minutes of the game. I think that it made it too telegraphed, everything that they would ever hope to try to achieve or go for. And then I think that they made some really big blunders, like the Herald at 11 minutes in the game one. And in this game, they just didn't do anything. The red buff stuff backfired really, really horribly. Meteos fell really far behind from that. Ryu fell really far behind. It looked like Cody-san had an advantage, but then he lost it because of how far behind Meteos falls and the fact that he's never going to get any aid. And that's just so problematic. And then Mountain Drake, RNG, it doesn't even matter that TL, I think, made some mismovements because 100 Thieves just can't come back. I don't know. I didn't watch their previous games, but the level of play and the draft, it seems like they really require the opponents to make mistakes. That's what I'm getting from these games.
Yeah, I think in their previous games that Ryu was just getting priority earlier, and he wasn't as neutralized as he has been this series. And he was able to help someday win a matchup, even if it was just a tank into a tank.
Right.
Or, yeah, they played a bot side too, but Cody and Afro had the picks or the map awareness that Double Lift and Ole have had. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this game. Let's go into game 3. Alright, so very underwhelmed, by the way. Very underwhelmed.
Yeah.
With this, these games. I'm just throwing that out there. Just Just letting you guys know that. Then again, I was basically falling asleep. KT versus SKT. Those games were trash.
Yeah. Those were really hard to watch. That's why KT versus Afrika was actually, I mean, KT had KT problems, but I really liked everything Afrika pulled out. And, you know, I think they will pick off at least one game off of Kingzone.
Wait, you'll think who takes one? Oh, Frika.
Yeah.
Okay. Thought you were talking about MSI. And I'm like, well, are you saying hello? No. Okay. All right, so let's get ready for game 3. And let me start pick ban. Oh, ow.
Bless you.
Thank you. All right, speed X2. And are you ready?
Yep.
Give me a sec. All right, I'll do the intro and then we'll start. Hey everyone, it's LS, and this is the TeamLiquid versus 100Thieves LCS Spring 2018 Finals, game number 3. I'm joined today by CroissantLoL. If you want to know more about him, check out the description and the YouTube info below. Someone that I have talked about for a while now as an analyst that came onto the scene not too long ago, about a year and a half ago, I think. And we're just VOD reviewing the finals here. So, as always, and as in the previous VODs, because I've been gone for a while, I'm not going to talk too much about the pick bans, and so Croissant will be handling that, and then I will just talk about generic things that apply to the lane matchups and spots that I think are obvious in the pick ban phase. So let's start.
So 100Thieves is still staying with the Tom Kench ban that they've been going for, so that they can prioritize Skarner. They do ban out the Trundle, though. Liquid's just going for the same bans they have been all series. And 100Thieves is staying with the Casio ban, because it is... Okay, so to any viewer, it would be confusing in the context of this series, because Pobelter has played 2 games of Azir and looked fantastic on it. And I do think an Azir ban would be stronger than a Casio ban, but Pobelter's Casio is about as impactful as his Azir as well. So they get the Caitlyn, finally, so they have a winning bot lane. But TeamLiquid take the Skarner, so now 100Thieves, you know, their option is to pick Morgana, since they don't have the Tahm Kench that they banned away themselves. But let's see what they go for. They want the jungle matchup because I guess if Liquid bans out Sedge, Zac, then their matchups are going to be even worse.
That's an interesting thing. We haven't seen Zac at all.
Yeah,
in any of these.
but they really want the... So Ryze can pressure Azir a little bit early, as we saw, like rear wins trades and stuff, right? Really small stuff. But after a certain point, he can't do anything. So I would have liked to see Morgana here, because even though your Ryze and Talia probably get banned in phase 2, I don't know. You really want that winning bot lane, and your mid laner can probably be just thrown onto Orianna. But now, Liquid goes for the Jhin, not opting for the Tristana Caitlyn matchup. But Double also pulled out a bunch of Ashe, which was, like, I always like that. The Ashe Caitlyn lane goes pretty well, and then you have a lot of engage. But I guess in the past week they tested it and felt like the Jhin was still stronger. They do ban out the Morgana. 100Thieves goes for the Ornn ban, which is a really...
What?
Yeah. So all the tanks are banned out right here.
The Cho'Gath bans are just so bizarre to me. I really don't understand it at all. And Braum gets picked up. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so here, what's 100Thieves' support pick options? Okay. I mean...
The problem is you have to show top first. I mean, you can just go for the knife fight. You can go for No, that's not what you do. You go for Camille or Fiora, and you just accept it, and then you try to play 1-3-1.
Yeah.
Because Jhin and Azir are naturally immobile, and Skarner and Braum are not going to be able to help out. So, not entirely sure why they would pick Gnar here. That seems like a really, really, really bizarre pick. But, I mean, there could be things that we just don't know about, or information that we're not privy to, in terms of, like, scrims and champion comfort and yada, yada, yada. And then TeamLiquid actually ends up just picking Maokai.
Yeah, so 100 Thieves gets the matchup they probably want. Like, this is the best thing they could have gotten in the top side.
Yes.
That's the main thing I'm worried for, right? Is Liquid going to, it's going to be, I think MSI is on 8.6, maybe it's 8.7, but with Conqueror, like, are we going to see North America try to bring in picks like Darius, or are we just going to be playing Maokai into Darius and getting pentakilled? Who knows? But that was a good spot for Impact to pull out the Camille, but it's what they're comfortable with.
So matchups for me, it's really hard to gank the Gnar unless Someday messes up. It's more so easy to gank Ryu in mid lane. Problem is that if Xmithie and Pobelter ever get matched or counter ganked, it gets really rough. And bottom lane is actually a lane that Xmithie probably enjoys approaching. So Meteos, on the flip side, is actually the person now who gets to match counter gank everything. And he should, in theory, be able to be a lot more greedy with his clears and play around them. Play around his laners better with his clears to set up and coordinate match and counter ganks. Cloud Drake being the first Drake of the game, not really impactful. I mean, you could argue that maybe it's a little bit more impactful for TeamLiquid because it plays into the Maokai engages, it plays into the Predator engages, maybe helps with the immobility of Jhin and Azir. Whereas 100 Thieves, I mean, they're likely going to be piloting their team composition the same exact way no matter what. So if you're TL and you do a traditional Skarner opening, so this is like the thing I talked about in the last game, and I mentioned it in the KT series thing, where I think that you need to have a unusual opening to skew things and mix things up in a way that makes it less predictable, because I feel like Skarner is very, very easy to abuse if you play traditional openings. Because it's very easy for me to know, okay, I know what's going to happen in this 2v2 at every single level. Regardless, like if Gnar is here, if he's here, etc., depending on what summoners they have, we can all know that. We know what's going to happen in this 2v2. We know what's going to happen in this 3v3. So it's so easy to see ahead of time that you really need to play in a way that's unorthodox. You need to take unusual routes, unusual pathing and stuff to try to play that angle of the game out and get advantages. Otherwise, I think that Skarner is really, really weak if you just play him standard, unless you have power laners. But TL doesn't have power laners. Like, if they have 3 winning lanes, Skarner can just play Spire control and River control, and he never has to gank. And then he just plays in close proximity for match and counter gank, sort of like what Meteos should be doing this game. And then he waits until level 6, and he just ganks with 6. Over and over and over. Almost like a solo queue Warwick, or like a solo queue Nocturne.
I see.
So Team Liquid's team composition needs to get ahead. That's obvious. So they're looking to, and also they're tempo based. Also, is this the meta where Jhin goes Guinsus or whatever? I don't know the patch when this is played.
Don't think so. I think that's 8.6.
Okay.
Even if it is, it's like a 3rd, 4th item.
Mm-hmm.
Not really.
Now Meteos gets to wrap into his jungle. This is actually an opening that we've seen in many, many games. The Skarner always falls behind, or the slower tempo player always falls behind. Like, if Skarner was Sejuani in this case, and Meteos was any other jungler, and he did a similar route, the problem is that now Skarner comes off base, and even though he has the Scuttle Crab doesn't do anything. So now he goes here, sees nothing, and now everyone knows his respawn on this, everyone knows his respawn on this, everyone knows his respawn on this. So now he's predictable for the next 2.5, 3 minutes. Whereas Meteos has options. And then Meteos' camp respawns with rubber banding, and this is just a useless camp. So he doesn't actually ever need to path into this. So he gets to just go like this now, and all is well. Alternatively, if he didn't take these golems and he acknowledged that the golems existed or something, he could recall path here, and then try to counter match gank. But already, 100 Thieves is actually a little bit ahead, which is not something I think I've ever said this series. Spotted out. That's a nightmare. And the thing is, they get to count as CS because they're not cavemen. Oh, Impact barely lives.
Yep.
What?
Yeah, those are the... Like, Xmithy has had a couple of those plays in playoffs where he just goes too hard.
Maybe, like, I can understand if he angles this different and he just wants to stop the recall. Because if you stop the recall, you see there's more minions here. If you stop it and make Someday run back here and then Impact TPs here, these minions will... Yes. And then Someday is actually in a semi-rough spot. But the problem is that Someday's already up 7 CS. So, I don't know what the hell... The TP is sort of forced at that point because you can hope that they make a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they don't buy it. But even in, yeah, I don't know. That's just really, really strange.
Mm-hmm. Whoa.
Jeez. Wow, 100 Thieves is so far ahead now. What?
Yep.
Because it's Cloud Drake, being so useless, I think when bottom lanes set up their recall timer, if Someday coordinates it properly, they could look to just rotate bot top and trade turrets and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you get the kill onto Impact. And then you kill Impact, you trade turrets top, you get control of Xmithy's red side jungle. And now Gnar is really far ahead, and Gnar goes to bottom, where there's a really bad neutral objective. Or you can even actually keep Gnar up in top lane, and rotate your bottom lane down back into bottom if they didn't elect to take Cloud Drake. And then you have bottom shoving this turret, and you have Gnar just waiting for handoffs from Impact. I think that those are kind of creative plays that they could look to do to really pull apart the Azir and Skarner. Oh, I like what... Okay. Okay. Alright. Okay, that did not need to happen. Oh, he hit him before...
Yeah.
Alright, the death didn't need to happen. And if the death doesn't happen, Someday is super, 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 super far ahead.
Yep. Like, Impact was still level 4.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Be like 3 level difference.
Because...
What do you think about Meteos going top earlier? Because Ryu and Someday start off the play, but Meteos doesn't get there until the end.
You mean the gank thing?
Yeah.
This?
Or not that one. Not that one.
Which one?
I mean the when Ryu comes up and dives with them.
Oh. This play.
Yeah, so you notice how he's
already on the way. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think he did golems and then raptors and then top side. So if he just stays top side and doesn't clear his bottom side, do you think just...
Well, I think what they're thinking is that bottom lane, realistically, there shouldn't be any ability for bottom lane to die to a Skarner, and Cloud Drake's useless, right? Yeah. So I think if Meteos comes up and they don't end up getting the kill onto Impact for whatever reason, he can finalize the kill, and then Someday stays in the lane, Someday eats this wave, and then this wave crashes into this turret and then bounces back, and Someday retains teleport advantage.
Yeah.
Right? So now Someday walks up to top lane that is already coming back into him and Impact's in a nightmare situation. Bot lane cannot do anything. Azir can't make to look a play because Someday still has teleport, right? And now Meteos, after this gank ends, he can split some XP with Someday on this wave, and then Meteos comes here and eats the golems and then recalls. And now Meteos recalls at the same exact time that Ryu would almost be back to mid lane, and he goes into his red buff. If he gets the red buff, bottom lane is resituated and they should have priority. Mid is going to be establishing priority. Somebody's in position in top lane. And then they just look to now play around the right-hand side because it should be assumed that it's all over. Because you know that Xmithy doesn't have a left-hand side jungle. You know when his red's respawning, and you know that he has to be on the right-hand side. So all you have to do is chuck test to him. And you win the game. That's what I think the plays are.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, just so many little micro things that made that top dive. If they fix any one of those things, then the advantage would still be there. It's unfortunate.
That's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Okay, impact. Yeah, it's definitely making an impact this game. Oh!
Yeah, so
Wow.
impact, first of all, someday doesn't get his ult off before he turns into mini.
Yeah.
And then second of all, impact outplays by setting up the extra damage sapling. And the thing about Maokai that makes him extra punishable is his only way of getting out of a gank is going in, right? Dodging something with his W onto them. But then, yeah, so he dodges damage, and then he knocks Sejuani deep enough in so that Meteos gets killed off by Xmithy. Which, so yeah, Impact should just not be able to make these trades happen.
Wait, somebody ulted.
Did he?
Yeah,
no,
he ults.
Wait, let me see.
He ults.
Where does he ult?
He ults, I don't know when he ults. Hold on. Is it here? I'm assuming it's right on top of the turret. Yeah, his ult's on cooldown.
Wait, so look at the damage that Impact takes. So I think Impact's literally at full health though.
I'm assuming it was right there. Yeah, I don't understand what's going on there.
But he basically used it on nothing,
Yeah.
and I have to assume.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming.
Just
Nara is so far ahead right now. Holy.
yeah.
I don't like someday taking turret. I think taking turret's bad. It's 8 minutes in the game. You're giving Maokai a way to comfortably farm his wave, right? You could just demand that he keep coming up because otherwise his turret's going to kill minions. But you can poke him underneath the turret. So why not just get Kindle Gem and tier 2 boots or something like that and then pressure him endlessly underneath his own turret? Because Skarner doesn't have the ability to keep coming top lane.
Yeah.
There's just no way that Skarner can keep devoting attention up to top lane. Someday can win the isolated 1v1 now. You place a pink ward here, Ryze places a pink ward here, Ryze tries to get like a ward right here, like a regular ward. And you just bleed him out. I think taking this turret at 8 minutes is really, really bad if they're doing it this way.
Yeah. What could have been a 3-4 level advantage is now like within 1 level.
This is really, really bad by 100 Thieves. Right here. Why? Look at that. Why are you autoing it? What the hell are you doing? Blue's getting handed off. No play exists against bottom lane. There's no dragon. Rift Herald isn't on the map. What is he doing auto-attacking it? This is just actually terrible. This is really, really bad play. It makes no sense. Look at this, how fresh this is. Spellcaster, cannon. That's so beautiful. Maokai can't ever walk up to the wave. Sejuani is going to comfortably farm this and this. Ryze is going to be in mid lane, virtually gank immune. Nothing can happen to bottom lane.
Maybe he's trying to set up for Infernal?
Infernal is not coming up for a while. There's no timer.
Yeah, I don't know what the timer is.
This is just terrible play. That's a TL win. And then as I say that nothing can happen bottom lane, something does happen.
Yep. Cody's flash got burned earlier, so... Wait, how does Pobelter... Oh, they're handing off blue, right? This is the play that TL always tried to make, but...
Yeah, this is the play that can exist, and you have to know that it can exist.
Yeah, like
So-
you have to be going toward that river, and they're not, right?
If you're
They have
100
their
Thieves,
shy-
you just give up the turret. You back up to here, you give up the turret, and that's fine because you already won this turret. the advantage that you gain from this is greater than the advantage TL gains from this because there's no neutral. So they're committing to getting the turret. They're going to get the turret, all right? Cody Sun's going to lose a few CS. But equally so, Impact is losing infinitely more CS because of this, right?
Yep.
So Doublelift gets first, or not first, but Doublelift gets a turret under his belt. Azir stays in mid lane, and they get vision on a side of the map that isn't actually relevant. Cody Sun and Afromu back all the way up. Cody Sun stays underneath his turret, and then Afromu probably just moves through the back of his jungle and goes into mid lane to support the Rise and try to get some vision control around here. Cody Sun stays underneath his turret, and then where does Jhin rotate? Jhin can't just magically rotate up to top lane. That's dangerous. If he rotates into mid lane, Rise now has blue buff. And if Afromu's there, yeah, they can maybe look to make some poke with Doublelift and Pobelter against mid lane, but it doesn't matter that Impact is bleeding away advantages. Like, Someday should be able to have level 9 versus level 6. That should be a real thing, because Impact's still level 6. So if they just back all the way up, concede the turret, get Cody Sun to here, and then Afromu walks through the backside of his jungle, unites with Rise in mid, Sejuani just maybe, I don't know. I mean, if you want to be super, super safe, Sejuani does blue and then paths down into the right-hand side until it's guaranteed to be safe, and then once it's guaranteed to be safe, paths back up, Wolves, Gromp, look top.
Yeah.
And then if Jhin recalls after shoving in one more wave, he recalls, he comes back here, and he tries to path up to top lane, there's a freeze. So by the time he gets here, Sejuani is in close proximity, and then you could have read it correctly, because again, Thresh was in mid lane, so Thresh could have gone in like this. And then if you know that Impact's missing, Impact can't go down into bottom lane, because depending on the size of the wave that TL hands over to 100 Thieves, there's even a chance that Cody Sun can actually freeze it right in front of the golems, unless Doublelift and Ole walk the entire wave up to the turret. So I feel like TL makes a play that requires 100 Thieves to mess up, and they do, but I feel like 100 Thieves is messing up, like, so bad with the top lane thing and the spot lane thing.
Yep.
Now they make a play against mid. I mean, it is an Azir turret, so it is valuable. Now they're coming down into bottom. Rise. Okay.
Yeah.
Ryu, this is Steve? Is that what that was?
That was one of those moments. I actually haven't watched that play in slow motion, but there's just no reason that he should be on the edge of the ult. Should be closer to his team.
Jeez. It is so sad that they 100 Thieves is like trying to do this stuff when they, you know? Yeah, the Rise ultimate's really poor though. Look at what? Was he even looking? Wait a minute, wasn't Cody Sun the guy that W'd in on Triss too? Is he looking?
So you want him to focus Impact? I think the thing is...
No, he just walks all the... No, I don't want him to do anything. I want him to just back up.
I think it's because his team's going for the play and he's just trying to, like, kill Ole or something. But ultimately, I think it lies more on Meteos and Ryu for just being that far outside of what their team can do. But yeah.
Oh, this is so sad. This Gnar is so enormous.
Yep. But that team fight, like, is just indicative of what Impact is doing versus what Someday is doing. Someday is walking in and trying to contribute, and Impact zoning 3 members with his 0-item Maokai. So, and then here, like, Someday's advantage just gets negated.
How does this even happen? You have a full HP, full mana Azir, fresh off of a recall, go missing, and no one backs up. You know there's no blue. Like, there's a question mark ping here, I guess maybe insinuating that maybe Azir wants to go and place his control ward. But for Someday not to just back up and wait for a response, it's really, really strange.
Yeah. This is really bad of Someday to be up that far, but it's also really good because for Liquid to have gone for that play, because 100 Thieves probably thought that mid jungle would be looking to set up the Fire Drake, but instead they go for a pick and then go right back to the drag to set up.
Yep.
So it's like the window of 10 seconds of timing where the enemy team expects you to do one thing, and so they just grab it.
I just feel like there's no universe where TL should ever be in a position to get this Infernal with how far ahead Someday was.
Yeah.
The real talking point, I feel, for me, in this game is how poorly they utilized that Gnar up in top. And it started at 7 minutes. It started at like 7.5 minutes.
I don't
That's really
see
gross.
why Cody burned his summoners. Did he get gauged on by Xmithy? I just saw a general, but
It doesn't show.
yeah, that's what I hate about replays.
Yeah. It does not show. Okay. Cody's now down in bottom. I mean, Cody should just shove in this wave against Impact, run up to mid lane, and then group 5 in mid, demand that TL come to it, and then look to group Rift Herald. They should have done that before Impact can have his teleport, and they're not doing it.
I like that Pobelter, is you shouldn't have to praise players for doing or walking the right way or just taking the safe pathing, but players so often fail to do that it's good to see that they're doing all the little things, those little things correctly. But yeah, this constant movement of Azir to top to bot or top to mid.
Yep, they're bouncing. Well. TL's pretty far ahead right now, which, how can you say that when you have a Gnar that's up like 70 CS almost? It's so sad. I'm trying to utilize this 1-3-1, but remember, I think I talked about this in game 1. This is the thing that happens between Ryze and Azir. Right? Ryze shoves it in, and then Azir just comes up and eats it, and it really detracts from the 1-3-1.
Mm-hmm.
He'll even get to Rift Herald.
Gnar walked all the way mid, but there's nothing to do. Because TL just walks towards Rift Herald, and then back mid.
Yeah. Everyone ends up dying. Everything here is just them falling apart. It almost looks like you're actually witnessing the breakdown, like
Yep.
that they're probably thinking that they're gonna lose.
Yeah. So what do you think? We know Caitlyn's locked down mid. We know Ryu is just splitting top.
Mm-hmm.
We know Someday didn't push his advantages as well as he could have. He pushed when he shouldn't have, and then he didn't freeze when he should have. But what do you think Afro and Meteos should be doing as a unit to try and make picks? Because it just feels like they haven't been able to make any plays all game, right?
Well, I mean, the whole game isn't. I feel like it's not on them, right? I feel like it's on Someday.
Yeah.
Or the unit as a whole utilized Gnar very, very poorly. It's some parts. Someday was obviously like alone by himself, like when he flashes down in bottom, right? Like right here, right? That's obviously good. We've seen stuff like that in the LCK. But it requires you to have total, absolute control over your own side jungle so that they cannot be aware of where is Afro, where is Meteos moving to. But then the question becomes is, do they even make the play if they know where Meteos, or they don't know where Meteos and Afro is? Like, does Impact even cast this if Sedge isn't visible on the map? Probably not. So for me, the whole thing here, if I'm like reviewing this or trying to coach someone or educate them, it's to go all the way back to 7 minutes and 30 seconds and talk about that. Because you don't have to fix problems, you have to prevent them. And yes, it is important to talk about in some instances, what does 100 Thieves do here to come back? But the reality of the situation is that they need TL to make mistakes, and because they need TL to make mistakes, they need to dance endlessly.
Yeah.
You just keep dancing and praying. Like, okay, we're gonna go from point A to point B to point C. Did you make a mistake? No. Okay, we're gonna do point A to point B to point C. Did you make a mistake? No. Point A to point B to point C. Did you make a mistake? No. Point A to point B. Did you make a mistake? Yes. Capitalize. They have to keep repeating this cycle endlessly. And the game, I called it David versus Goliath on YouTube. Let me just try to find it. It's an example of this. I think it. David versus Goliath. LS. Yeah, okay. It's Kingzone versus SK Telecom. Game 1. This. David versus Goliath. Because the way that this is similar to this situation where 100 Thieves should not be able to recover.
Mm-hmm.
But if they are going to, it's going to be through tactics like Kingzone displays here in this game against SK Telecom. Yes, it does require the opponents to make mistakes, and it requires you to acknowledge that they've made a mistake and then capitalize and punish. But, if you ask, okay, at 18 minutes, what can Afromu and Meteos do? It's like watching a fighting game or something and being like, okay, well, what can Daigo do here with 5% life? And it's like, well, he can only do, he's so limited in what he can actually do. It's more so, what does he look for?
Yeah. So if we go back to, or we don't have to actually go back in the game time, but we didn't get to see what happened that made Cody lose his sums, right? But in my opinion, that should have never happened. There should have been a lantern, and Cody should have been able to just get out, right? And if Cody still had his sums, then it's possible that he'd be more self-sufficient in the mid lane, and Afro could look for a pick with Someday onto Impact in the bottom lane, right? You run over there, you flay in the Maokai, you try and hook him, and you try to make a play there. You don't even need to make a gank, right? You just shadow him, and if Impact, Xmithy, Pobelter are making a play on Someday, suddenly you can just lantern the Gnar out, and your home scot free. So these are the things that Afro should be looking for, and I'm sure that he is trying to control vision and do the standard things, but it feels like, yeah, Someday fucked this game and fucked like a lot of his advantage, but how are his teammates trying to push that advantage with him? And it feels like ever since the time that, Meteos could have gone top before Golems and only stayed topside, that they could have pushed that. They could have helped Someday push that advantage a little more, even though Someday was the one making little micro mistakes and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The thing for this spot for me is Kate's at full HP, and she has no mana.
Yeah.
And Skarner is over here. Skarner doesn't have flash. Skarner doesn't have ult. Skarner's Chilling Smite is on cooldown.
Yeah, his Predator's up too.
Yeah, the Predator's up too. So I don't, other than him fat fingering both, I don't know what the hell happened.
Yeah.
I actually can't even, how did this person get here?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he just
got
scared. Holy shit.
We were at wait, what? We were at 16 or huh?
Did you press J or something? I don't know.
Okay. Herald B. Wait a minute. How did they get Baron? Wait, what? What's going on here? Wait, how did Meteos get caught out? Take a peek.
Oh, actually, I have to go back quite a bit for this. Quite a bit.
Meteos waiting in bottom lane. He's doing the Lee Sin. Okay, TL gets that, and now I guess they're assuming they're just going to be able to kill him. See, these are actually the type of plays that you have to make, though.
Yeah.
To come back. I think he should have gone way sooner. He had ulti, right? Yeah, wait. Ready? Ulti him now. You have to ulti him now. Otherwise, he gets too far away. Have to just ulti him now, knock him backwards, etc.
Yeah, I don't know if he's waiting for Afro or something, but yeah.
Okay, so that's how Meteos dies. And then TL make a pretty proactive call to go Baron. And this is some of the beauty of Azir. Yep, teleport in, teleport comes in from someday, doesn't even matter. Look at how fast that goes down. Yeah, and someday's gonna, yeah, it's over, it's over. They commit to the Baron because they think they can't do anything else. I think that the correct decision here is to attack Baron without attacking Baron, because you can't assume that you're gonna win the fight. You just really can't. So with that being said, take all 3 of these guys, have a ward here or a ward here, crash this in, get the turret, rotate through the right-hand side, Gnar shoves in the wave,
Take bot tower, yeah.
Take bot turret, collapse down, and there's no wave. And then Azir will get the Baron buff, he'll go top lane, he'll eat this wave, and then he'll shove this wave into the turret, and then I guess Skarner will... No, Skarner should save Rift Herald unless it's about to expire. Crash the wave into the turret, get the turret, he'll recall, and then you're going to be fighting standard Baron waves. Which is more manageable than trying to go balls to the wall and pray that you're going to be able to steal a Baron without a smite.
Yeah. Absolutely. I don't know how many people die here. Does anyone die?
100 Thieves is fans died here.
So, I know you're not a huge fan of bringing the history of it up, but yeah, just throughout playoffs, I have never seen a team let Liquid take a Baron when they're down their jungler and then go for the towers or the objectives. They always try to contest 3v4, 3v5, and it just helps Liquid snowball that much faster for these Baron pushes. Right now, they could have stabilized. If they did what you just said they should have done, they would have at least some more gold.
Yes, they would have a little bit more gold, and it would stall this from having occurred for a little while.
Yeah.
And then it's always about increasing your odds. You know, what is the highest? You have to take the highest chance thing, the highest chance play, right? Like when, like if you have a chance right now and it's 40% to do a play, or if you wait and it goes down to 35, you have to just take the 40 right then. You can't hope that they're gonna make more blunders. That's just not how to correctly play. Now TL grouping up as 5. Okay, what are they doing? What is Skarner doing? Okay. Yeah, they just get this turret. Yeah, they're so far ahead. They're just so far ahead. They got Azir.
Unlike the... Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Okay, I don't know why they're doing this. That seems really bad. Like, you can... So, the question here, right? Mountain Drake's coming up in a minute 30. Death Timer's not a minute 30. Okay. If, let's say, Impact or Ole die here and you get this Nexus turret, that's fine. Because during their death timer, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, suicide one of them, get the turret, and then back off. And unfortunately, it doesn't mean all that much because it's a mid inhibitor, so it's not like a side inhibitor where then a Nexus turret missing is actually... That can be lights out. But it's still something. Suicide one member, get the turret, get the rest of the players out, you know, have them retreat this way, clear out the wave, and then what does 100 Thieves do? Well, 100 Thieves sends Someday up, he clears this wave, he clears that wave. You have Cody-san run this way, or actually, TL could have double lift go to the right, double lift get red, and then, I don't know, you have X-Smithy or something go up top, and he clears this wave, taps it with Baron. And then Cody-san will come over to his red, see that it's gone. Cody-san will go down to bottom, eat this wave. Then TL recalls, and then off the recall, they send Impact down into bottom. They send 4 people here. And then after Impact's down into bottom, depending on what the game timer is, maybe you get Mountain. Otherwise, you escort up as 4, unite with him down in bottom, shove this, escort this up to the tier 3 turret, siege the tier 3 turret, 1 wave or 2, back up, get the Mountain, and at this point, Baron's almost back on the field. And then you can just play the game safe. That's if you want absolute safety. I think that is the multi-minute macro rotation. I don't like what they try to do with trying to end. They very easily could have gotten the turret. And then they do this. Replay. Get Mountain. And they're sending Impact top because I guess he has TP. They're going to get this for sure. 100 Thieves has to just concede it. They can't look to fight it. Yeah, just concede that. That's fine. And this wave isn't a cannon, so you have Rise. Rise have ulti? Yeah. What? What? The hell are you doing?
They think this is their last chance, so they try to go for the play while Impact is still top.
Wait, if they let one of them recall.
Yeah, the other thing is someday goes mid to clear the mid supers. So if you are gonna go for that, then
What? Who called that? I mean, at least let someone recall. They don't have impact, and yeah, he's gonna teleport, but
they don't have a ward in there either, though. So they probably think that
they're praying that the recall is gone, unless they can hear it. You know that thing that happens where you can hear recalls in the brushes? Yeah. I don't know actually how to replicate that, but it doesn't matter. Seems like TL wins. TL looks like they got a lot better since the earlier. I mean, after seeing game 2 and 3, they do look like they have improved, for sure. But I still see the KT-esque stuff going on. And then the real question becomes is what happens when they face resistance?
Yeah.
Because that's where KT goes downhill.
Yeah. The thing that I liked about Liquid and even Echo Fox is it looks like they took lessons from earlier on in the playoffs and brought it to this weekend. Their series against C9 was also the 3-0, but they made a lot more mistakes against Cloud9.
Mm-hmm.
Cloud9 was actually really close to winning. If one game they had the Singed Fiora matchup, right? Didn't matter that Licorice was 1-4. He was well on his way to just completely outscaling and taking over the game.
Mm-hmm.
But every time Licorice was about to take a tower or apply pressure, like there was this one time where I think Smoothie gets picked, Licorice is bought as Fiora, and then C9 tries to just bother Liquid 3v5 on the Baron, right? Mm-hmm. And then instead of just poking them and stopping their recalls, Sneaky walks in melee range of the Singed and gets flipped in, and then C9 loses 2 of its members, and then Liquid no longer needs to recall, so Licorice is bot lane as Fiora. He's taken a tier 2 tower because that was a trade. It was supposed to be a tier 2 tower for enemy Baron because they can't really contest it. Instead, it ends up being a tier 2 tower for the Baron, then 2 kills, and then 2 mid towers and an inhibitor. And then Liquid just wins the game. And Liquid they won't get handed those free. They won't have an enemy Ezreal at MSI walking up in melee range of them, right? They're not going to have those easy blunders. Mm-hmm. And I think that this series showed that there's still things that Liquid is pushing too much on. There are still little blunders that Xmithy is making, for example, on his ganks. There's champion pool questions for Impact, but ultimately Liquid deserved to win this series 100%. It was a bit disappointing to see 100 Thieves kind of collapse, but I don't think it was just a matter of like Team Liquid was playing at the same level they have been playing at, and 100 Thieves played, 50% worse. I think it was like Liquid had improved every series marginally, and especially Pobelter, right? He had the biggest mid lane champ pool out of everyone in playoffs, and really not only did he play these champs at a serviceable level, he pressured all the other mid laners on Cassio, on Azir, and so yeah, I think Poe won MVP of this series or something, but
I can see that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's sad that there wasn't that much to analyze about the series, but I think you clearly laid out what Liquid had to do and what they did. And then we focus a lot on 100 Thieves too, right? But
well, yeah, I focused on how they drafted in a particular way and then failed to execute, and then also their openings and their rotation. I mean, I felt like I saw a lot of errors on both sides, and TL's errors were less serious in nature. I think that the way that 100 Thieves misused the Snar this game easily goes down for me as one of the biggest blunders in a final ever.
How they what?
How they misused Snar.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think that's pretty much it. I guess in terms of actual super high quality VODs and stuff, probably have to wait for Kingzone versus Freaka. Yeah. That'll probably be the icing on the cake. But yeah, I mean this was a very fast series, very fast series. and it doesn't seem like either team is actually content to take slower games, like like just giving up the inhibitor in bottom when the enemy team had Baron instead of trying to force fights. I mean, even that last end game engage in this that basically says everything about the series too. Like Hail Marys. I think that's it. I mean, that's pretty much all that I have to say.
Sure.
So, okay, man. Thanks for joining me for the VODs. I will message you on Skype, I guess, a little bit later, and then we can talk later on.
Got it.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much, man.
See you. Bye.